हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम, वेलकम टू अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ द पाकिस्तान एक्सपीरियंस। एग्जिस्टेंशियल क्राइसिस हो चुका है मुझे। आप लोगों में से कई लोगों ने मुझे करेक्ट किया कि मेरी मैथ कितनी बुरी है। मेरी मैथ बुरी नहीं है। मैं ये फैदम नहीं कर सकता था कि कोई इंसान 6 करोड़ एक महीने के कमा सकता है। तो वकार जका की बैंक स्टेटमेंट देखकर, उनके प्रॉफिट्स देखकर मैंने सोचा कि मैं भी कुछ इस बारे में सोच लूं। ये जो मैं चीजें कर रहा हूँ, क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं अपनी जिंदगी के साथ। इसलिए प्रॉफिट, जो पाकिस्तान टुडे का एक सप्लीमेंट है, उसके एडवर्टाइजिंग रिपोर्टर बाबर खान जावेद को मैंने आज बुलाया है जरा एडवर्टाइजिंग एजेंसी और एडवर्टाइजिंग कल्चर डिस्कस करने के लिए। हाउ यू बाबर?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you?
गुड गुड गुड। आपने भी अपनी लाइफ क्वेश्चन की, आपने भी पीछे देखा कि मैंने अपनी जिंदगी किस तरह गुजार ली है वकार जका को देखकर।
True. That was a little mind blowing to see the numbers that he's been able to bring in. But then, abhi this, agar aapne dekha hoga, when KPK government put out a notice saying that he's one of the experts on the panel of crypto, he put it up on his Facebook page saying that देखो, I'm working for free for the government. मैं इनसे पैसे नहीं ले रहा, मैं इनके लिए consulting कर रहा हूँ, फना फना. फिर KPK government के Twitter account से
अपेरेंटली वो
ये
फेक
notice
था।
आया कि
अपेरेंटली वो फेक अकाउंट था, वो असल केपी के या नहीं था।
but even if it wasn't, even if it was fake, the fact that he's working for them for free, that's bullshit. It's by appointment, and no one gets paid. So it's like saying, "Okay, yaar, I don't inhale carbon dioxide. I'm doing a big favor to everyone. I will not inhale carbon dioxide. I'll exhale oxygen." So that's as dumb as the statement as that is.
सो मुझे लगता है मुझे ना आधा गेम समझ में आ गया था। तो इवन क्लासिकली हिस्टोरिकली मैं ये समझ गया था कि यार सोशल कैपिटल इज आल्सो अ थिंग। अगर आपके फॉलोअर्स हैं, आपकी रीच है, दैट्स अ गुड थिंग। तो आई गॉट देयर, माशाल्लाह अच्छी खासी फॉलोइंग है। बट जो उसका सेकंड पार्ट है ना कि आप उसको मोनेटाइज कैसे करो, वो मैं कभी नहीं समझा। वो वकार का समझ चुका है। आई डोंट नो अगर आपने देखा है कि एक दफा उसकी एक क्लिप भी रिलीज हुई थी, जो कुछ शायद मंशियात लेकर या कुछ कर कर वो किसी बैरून मुल्क में ज्यादा ही खुश थे, तो उन्होंने रात में एक स्नैप बना दी थी कि मैं तुम लोगों को चूतिया बनाता हूँ और मैं बनाता रहूंगा। ही वॉज राइट। ही वॉज 100% राइट। वो यही करता है। एंड माशाल्लाह
Yeah.
आज 6 करोड़ महीने के कमा रहे हैं सिर्फ उस ग्रुप से।
Yeah, but then I'm assuming that there's some people behind him that he's disputing the money amongst, because it doesn't seem like he could have done it himself,
यार
just
कितने
based
हो
on
गए
how
यार?
he.
कितने हो गए?
जी?
50%। 50% भी दे दे तो भी वो 3 करोड़ कमा रहा है यार। मतलब यार, हाउ मच मनी इज दैट?
I mean, you can't be a TikTok game show host on a channel funded by fake diplomas all your life, right? You have to monetize in different other ways. So makes sense. Say yeah, everyone does it. Patreon hum karte hain, and even I have a subscription model with my work. I mean, I charge people for my time. I charge them for analysis, and जो चीजें agencies free में देती है, मैं उसके लिए charge करता हूँ. So and people are willing to pay. उस वक्त pricing tier का एक मसला होता है, but this is the way the world is right now. We cannot keep monetizing on views, right? It makes perfect sense to start charging people upfront for content
सुन रहे हो
or
तुम लोग?
advice.
सुन रहे हो जो लोग ये पॉडकास्ट देखते हैं फ्री में, सब्सक्राइब भी नहीं करते आप लोग। मेरे मतलब 60,000 लोग सुन रहे होते हैं, 17,000 सब्सक्राइबर्स है। सुन रहे हो तुम लोग? शर्म आनी चाहिए तुम लोगों को। पैसे भी नहीं मांग रहा मैं तो। सब्सक्राइब का बटन देखें, लाइक देखें। सो बाबर, दो चीजें हमने आज बात करनी थी, मेनली एडवर्टाइजिंग एजेंसी और एडवर्टाइजिंग रिपोर्टिंग। सिंस यू ऑलरेडी मेंशन्ड द एजेंसी थिंग एंड दैट्स समथिंग आई डू एज वेल, वहां से ही शुरू करते हैं। फ्लॉड नहीं है हमारा सारा एजेंसी मॉडल पाकिस्तान में?
हाँ यार, काफी फ्लॉड है in the sense के it's मतलब monopoly तो नहीं कहेंगे, but it's a cartel in one
Yeah.
specific way. There's just there's a handful of people control the majority of the market, even on the broadcaster side. Just that ARY Geo hum hai, they're like a few of them that control that TV print radio space, and then the agency side, there's just a few agencies that control that as well. Back end deals जो भी हम सबको पता है कि back end deals definitely होते होंगे, यही होता है. And that way it's flawed. That being said, jo digital natives and jo I'm assuming our generation, but I would guess younger than us, the digital native generation is more because they are predominantly spending a lot of their time is on time on apps and things of that nature. They're much more flexible in terms of we should expand where we place our media spending as opposed to just that typical print TV radio. And so it's becoming less and less flawed as more and more digital natives join decision making roles, whether on the client side or the agent side.
बट ये बाबू को तो नहीं समझ में आ रही ना। तो जितना भी आप, अगेन पीपल हु आर मोनेटाइजिंग इट, आई थिंक दे डूइंग फिनोमिनल जॉब, स्पेशली टिकटॉकर्स जो हैं, पीपल लाइक
जी.
अरिका हक या जो भी हैं बाकी सारे, वो जो इन्फ्लुएंसर, जो भी इन्फ्लुएंसर्स जनरली बड़ा एक लोडेड टर्म हो गया, बट वो चार्ज करते हैं, वो बिल्कुल ठीक करते हैं, उनकी एक फॉलोइंग है। बट ये जो आपने कार्टेल की बात की, वेयर ऑल द बिग मनी इज, वेयर ऑल द एडवर्टाइजिंग इज, जहाँ ऐसे
जी
नंबर्स आते हैं कि हम परेशान हो जाते हैं, वो तो क्लोज शॉप है। और वो
जी
चाहते भी नहीं है कि ये उनकी कार्टेल बंद हो।
जी बिल्कुल। there's allegation after allegation. I mean 10 साल से allegations आ रहे हैं against one company, and I've written about this, so legal notice तो आते रहते हैं, लेकिन defamation notices तो आते रहते हैं। लेकिन एक कंपनी है पाकिस्तान में, मीडियोलॉजी के नाम से, they're rating agency, they do television audience measurement to figure out, you know, how many people are watching what shows and what channels, and for how long, what demographics, male female and all that। तो एक चीज, एक सेट चीज बनी हुई है हर मीडिया प्लानर के दिमाग में, कि अगर एंटरटेनमेंट शो है तो औरतें देखती हैं, और कोई न्यूज प्रोग्राम है तो मर्द देखते हैं, बिकॉज यू नो दैट्स अपेरेंटली हाउ द वर्ल्ड वर्क्स अकॉर्डिंग टू देम।
औरतों को तो नहीं, न्यूज तो नहीं समझ में आती ना औरतों को तो।
these are data driven marketers, by the way. They think that the world is divided in these silos.
Yeah.
And so because there's only one rating agency, there's a lot of allegations about corruption by them, by broadcasters, by agencies and all that. Abhi ab ye sochna, it's about who's doing your homework. If the company, okay, I'll put it this way. Media agencies tell, I'm giving examples, right? Media agency goes to Ufone and says, pay Media Logic, the television audience measurement company, pay them money so that they can do an impartial audit for you to figure out what are the best channels to place your media on, that matches with your customer set. वो client आगे से कहता है कि नहीं, मैं पैसे नहीं दूंगा। I don't care how you, मतलब जिस तरह आपके साथ होता है, जिस तरह हमारे साथ होता है, I don't care how you monetize, but you figure it out, लेकिन मुझे कंज्यूम करना है आपका कंटेंट। वही चीज है कि एडवर्टाइजर क्लाइंट साइड इज सेइंग कि आई डोंट केयर हाउ मीडिया लॉजिक मोनेटाइजेस, आई नीड द रिजल्ट, आई वांट द आउटकम। So the media logic goes to the TV channels and says, can you pay me so that I can do your homework? So if someone is, if you're the TV channel giving the ratings agency money, then you're also telling them that I want you to come out with this fana result. Otherwise, I will not use you next time. So obviously things are going to be manipulated. Like it's not common, it's not rocket science. Why is Geo constantly number one, AirY constantly number two, Hum constantly number three, and these guys just change places every other month. And despite the fact कि अब जो भी इंडिपेंडेंट सर्वे उठा दें, उसमें ये लिखा हुआ है कि इन तीनों चैनल्स का ओरिजिनल कंटेंट क्वालिटी बहुत बेकार है, compared to something like Urdu One, for example, or Express, for example, in terms of original content, experimental content, they're pretty bad. Like, again, there's open, just a Harvey Weinstein का situation था. It's an open secret in the market that these three companies, broadcast companies, जिनको मैं hack कहता हूँ, standing for Hum, AirY, Geo, they control or they manipulate ratings for their own favor. And कोई इस बात पे कोई सवाल नहीं उठाता, हम ही उठा रहे हैं as a publisher. And again, like I'd like to be able to mention this, that I don't know the exact year, but Aurora by Dawn newspapers has a dedicated publication around the advertising industry that comes out twice a year. So they've been doing this much longer than I have. That being said, मेरा काम काफी investigative होता है, तो Aurora will never talk about the fact that there's even a possibility of rating manipulation, लेकिन हम उसके बारे में report करते हैं। So if you want to boost your positive profile, आप Aurora के पास जाएं, and if you want to whistleblow, you come to me. That's the role we play in the ecosystem.
किसी ने अभी लास्ट पॉडकास्ट पे कमेंट किया था कि मेन स्ट्रीम आप कब होंगे। बाबर जैसे लोग को मैं बुला लेता हूँ, इसलिए मैं कभी मेन स्ट्रीम नहीं होऊंगा। 3 चैनल हैं जहां मुझे नौकरी मिल सकती थी, तीनों को जलील कर दिया गया है इस पॉडकास्ट में। उर्दू वन, अगर आप देख रहे हैं, आपकी तारीफ हुई है, प्लीज आप मुझे हायर कर लें। उर्दू गुरुल मैं आपके लिए बनाऊंगा उर्दू में।
Urdu One
या
is
सो
an interesting example because Rupert Murdoch backs it. Do you know this?
रूपर्ट मर्डॉक
The
बैक्स उर्दू वन।
Yes, do you know this? The Rupert Murdoch is the main financier of Urdu One. It's run by a guy named Faraz Ansari. You should definitely interview him. He's a eloquently well-spoken guy and everything. And they were the ones who did MasterChef Pakistan and a couple of other high-level programming. Lekin again, you couldn't keep back-end deals nahi hoti. They don't get the ratings that they want or they probably deserve.
पर आज
And
इफ यू आर
आप
लिसनिंग,
सोचिए
हम वो क्विड प्रो को करते हैं। मैं पॉडकास्ट बुलाता हूँ, आप मुझे शो में हायर करें।
जी जी
रूपर्ट
जी।
मर्डॉक भाई, आपसे मुझे नफरत है, लेकिन अगर आप पैसे देंगे तो मैं आपके चैनल के लिए काम कर लूंगा।
Because the funny thing about Pakistan right now is it's not a matter of एक चीज होती है ignorance and there's willful ignorance. We live in a country, we live in a time right now जहाँ पर मैं आज Facebook audience insights खोल सकता हूँ और आप YouTube audience insight खोल सकते हैं। वो आपको बताएगा कि there's 90 million people in Pakistan that watch YouTube. मुझे बताएगा 50 million people in Pakistan, 50-60 million जो Facebook पे हैं. And हम ये कहते हैं कि इस 60 million के डेटा के बेस पे मैं अपनी segmentation करूंगा. As an example, someone reached out to me recently. उन्होंने कहा कि my brother started a business जो Turkish immigration करते हैं. I didn't even know Turkish immigration was a thing. तो मैंने उनको कहा कि आप थोड़ा audience define कर लें, married, how long have they been married, male, female, blah blah blah. वो करते करते the 60 million went to about 100 and went to 1.2 million. This is your total addressable market in Pakistan. So we went from a 60 million audience set to 1.2 million to figure something out. This makes, and 60 million is what, 1/4 of the country, if you assume.
60 million is what Waqar Zaka makes in a month from that. अब मैं सिर्फ इस तरह, that's how I see life now. सारे मेरे metrics, बस हाँ ये number है.
This number is the trigger point. If it makes you feel any better, he's probably paying 25% in tax if he's paying at all.
You think he's paying tax? You think Waqar Zaka is paying tax on his crypto income in Pakistan?
No, Waqar Zaka is definitely paying tax. Living on the edge.
इन पैसों से वो stamp import करता होगा और उनको पपियां देता होगा. I think that's all where the money is spent.
Exactly. But you mentioned the 60 million जो Facebook आपको बताता है, again, Jewish company is a Jewish owned company. जो people are throwing shit about Israel right now. They give you a 60 million sample set, which is like 30% of your country. Again, all the rating agencies are like, we sample 2,000 households, and unki consumption habits ke basis pe we assume for 200 million people are doing. Where the fuck does this happen in the world? You're using 2,000 people to assume what 200 million people are doing. So
वो भी mostly I think गुलशन में एक बिल्डिंग है, उस बिल्डिंग में उन्होंने लगाए हुए डिवाइसेस, तो उस बिल्डिंग में जो देखा जा रहा है वो पूरे पाकिस्तान में देखा जा रहा है. I'm sure और जगहों पे भी होंगे, बट कराची में वहाँ पर है.
नहीं यार, आप बिल्कुल सही बात कर रहे हैं, because I mean I never thought of it that way, but you've seen like videos and pictures of click farms जो चाइना में होते हैं. So if that can be done, how hard is it to manipulate these little set-top boxes that Medialogic is using in these 2,000 homes?
I know मेरी हिस्ट्री अटक गई है, बट डू यू थिंक वो 50,000 फेक अकाउंट है वकार ज़का के, और वो एक्चुअली 50,000 नहीं है, और उसने डाले हैं जानबूझकर ये दिखाने के लिए. सो मे बी अगर उसमें 10,000 भी एक्चुअल है, ही स्टिल मेकिंग अ लॉट ऑफ मनी, बट परसेप्शन ये है कि देखो 50,000 है, तो फिर उसकी वजह से 10,000 और आ जाते हैं कि यार 50,000 लोगों ने ज्वाइन किया हुआ है.
चलो, this conspiracy theory in this is that if you had to go down that line, I don't know how that Facebook membership thing works. I haven't done that yet. Like, let's assume the conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory is this, that he called 45,000 people into a group for free. He said, yeah, just join the group. And then he changed it into a membership page. And then he said 5,000 people came on board. And then maybe there's a Photoshop image or whatever, right? You don't know for sure if those 50,000 people paid, but you know there's 50,000 members. Yes. And you do the math and then you're like, this is what it is.
Yes. क्योंकि मुझे जेन्युइनली मुझे ये दिमाग में नहीं बैठता कि कोई इंसान इस तरह 6 करोड़ महीने कैसे कमा सकता है. ये कंप्यूट नहीं हो रही इंफॉर्मेशन.
जी. Well, the thing is, State Bank of Pakistan doesn't allow crypto trading, if I'm not mistaken, and neither does I mean, they don't recognize it, right? There's like committees being formed that are going to figure out how that will happen. Like, I don't know how he's going about it. So he may be under investigation. We don't know. It looks, I mean, it's one of the things
अगर उसको एक्सपर्ट हायर कर रहे हैं.
जी यार, आपकी एक you had an interview with not Tabish Hashmi but someone else. I can't exactly remember the person's name, लेकिन I think it was Ali Gurpir. आपका जो इंटरव्यू बिल्कुल शुरू में उनके साथ हुआ था, and you guys brought up a point which is not often talked about in Pakistan, where people again see the external of someone's life and then they assume that the internal must be great. I know people, and I'm sure you know people as well. I know people who are loaded, like beyond anything. Anything beyond like what I make in a year, they make in a day, for example, right? That's how loaded they are. Or like in a minute, oh, banda ye karta hai, so he makes basically what I make. But when you go inside that person's house, unhappy marriage, haven't spoken to my wife properly in years, galiyan ghar mein, bache are estranged. They have all these problems that when they look at me or they look at someone like you, they're like, I wish I had that. If I wish I had a relationship, I could talk to my parents.
Sir, मैं अगर गरीब और खुश होता तो मैं ये बात कर सकता था. अब मैं गरीब और डिप्रेस्ड हूँ, इससे बेहतर नहीं है मैं अमीर और डिप्रेस्ड हो जाऊँ.
I know the argument.
वैसे ही है ना, पैसा आ जाए तो इसमें क्या बुराई है. साथ
ये वही वाला argument है, much more comfortable crying in a Mercedes than in an FX.
Yeah, so तो डिप्रेशन और दुख तो है ना, पैसा आ जाए इससे क्या बात. बट वो वही है कि would you want to do everything he's done to be there? No, not really. तो वो आप बंदा अपना कॉन्शियस दिल में रखकर उसी ख्याल के साथ सो जाता है. So coming back to this, कार्टेल जो है हमारा, और हमने मोनोपोलीज जो इसमें बनाई हुई है। सो मेरा भी हमेशा से यही लॉजिक था कि इनकी कैप्टिव ऑडियंस है, ये लोग उल्लू बनाते हैं लोगों को, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। मेरी सबसे मीटिंग्स भी हो चुकी हैं, जब कंटेंट पिच करने की कोशिश करते हैं कुछ आप इस डब्बे से आगे पीछे कर दें, सो देयर लाइक नहीं हम क्यों करें, हमें फायदा तो नहीं है ना, वी जस्ट नीड टू फिल टाइम। आप अगर शो भी लिख रहे हैं देयर लाइक नहीं एक्सपोजिशन डालो ताकि वो 40 मिनट पूरे हो जाए। दे वांट दैट, दे वांट कि बस लंबा लंबा चले, बुलबुले जैसा हो कि एक सेट बन गया है वो हजारों एपिसोड चल जाए, दैट्स देयर बेस्ट मॉडल। पर इनको ये यूट्यूब पे फिर मिलियंस ऑफ व्यूज कैसे आ रहे हैं? इज दैट ऑल बॉट ऑडियंस?
Yeah, you can fake audiences on YouTube. You can fake an audience anywhere. मैंने इतने सारे articles लिखे हैं about यार, you go on daraz.pk and you type in likes, just write the word likes. You will see thousands upon thousands of vendors offering 1000 views on YouTube, 1000 views on Instagram, TikTok, and all million भी लोग offer करते हैं। लेकिन at the end of the day, Facebook, YouTube and Google's display network can figure out where the traffic is coming from. आपको millions of views मिल जाएंगे आज फिलीपींस से, and those people will come watch for 45 seconds and then leave. These are bots that can be automated,
which will destroy
but at
your
the
channel metrics.
And then when someone uses agar aap dekhein ke Group M, which is the largest media agency in Pakistan, and Z2C, which is the second largest media agency, these are all agencies, media agency giants. They're bringing in technology to figure out ke we know, we can see that, Shahzad has 100,000 subscribers, or someone has a million followers, but what is their engagement rate? What is the male female ratio? What is the engagement rate of male versus female? What is the क्या कहते हैं customer lifetime value के ये लोग कहाँ से आ रहे हैं? तो एक आप estimation लगाते हैं, जिस तरह आपको भी पता है कि अगर CPM पाकिस्तान में $1 है तो अमेरिका में $9 भी हो सकता है, it can go up to that level depending on your audience. So there's an assumption that if the GDP per capita is X, then that means the CPM will be fana. There's a correlation in that as well, because there's an assumption of the disposable income of the person watching you. So वो point of views लेके we have all this technologies coming into the Pakistan market जो भी deploy होगी I think 2-3 महीने के अंदर, जो बहुत precisely बताएगी कि इस बंदे की audience actually कहाँ से, और the lack of this turns out what के insert female follower, influencer. I hate the word influencer. लेकिन I'm a brand that is all about making dark women feel like shit, and I will hand my product to a female influencer, and without looking at data that tells me that 89% of our audience is male, then you're like, what the hell, man? जब आप general media planning करते हैं, आप पहले कहते हैं कि this is my goal, this is my audience, now where's my audience looking? Then you figure out the media channel. पाकिस्तान में ये, she's pretty, I want her to hold my product. Mahira को दे दिया, without looking at Mahira's audience is 75% male. Will those men actually buy the product for the women? Can you imagine how pathetic that
तो
marriage
मुश्किल हो
or that
जाएगा ना, बट ये तो मतलब ये तो करना मजबूरी है ना, अगर अगर आप ऑलवेज बना रहे हैं। एंड
जी
आई डोंट नो कौन है, अदनान मलिक की ऑडियंस 90% फीमेल है जिनको आप टारगेट करना चाह रहे हैं, तो आप अदनान मलिक को तो नहीं ऑलवेज के ऐड में लेंगे ना,
There
इवन
must
दो
be a
उसकी
way around
ऑडियंस
that.
आपकी टारगेट ऑडियंस है।
I agree with that point, Shahzad. You brought up a really brilliant point. My only job in this particular dichotomy is to point out this reality. How they figure it out would be like, I recently someone brought this up, something relevant to
इस
this
तरह तो बाबर व्हाट
recently
यू आर
to me.
सेइंग इसके जो ट्रेडिशनल मीडिया वाले हैं, दे हैव फिगर्ड इट आउट कि जिलेट के ऐड में औरत ले लो, क्योंकि देखेगा मर्द वो जो हमने जिसको दिखाना है, तो बस ये जो प्रोडक्ट जो भी हो आप एक औरत ले लें, फर्क भी नहीं पता चलता कि यार ये प्रोडक्ट क्या है, बस वो सेम औरत आती है, ऑब्जेक्टिफिकेशन के शॉट्स होते हैं, एक स्लाइस का कतरा गिरता है, होंठों की तस्वीर आती है, प्रोडक्ट से कोई ताल्लुक भी नहीं है उस चीज का।
जी that's exactly how it works. But to your point, it is actually a pretty good point that if Adnan Malik's majority followers are female and your product is always, how will you contextually figure out a way for him to advertise that? Again, I'm not a creative person. I don't never claim to be a creative. You're creative. Other people in your field are creative. You can figure out a way to bring up that product, whether it's a skit or whether it's a show or short or a video, whatever that may be, to figure out a way of communicating, if not just the product, but even the idea that this, for example, the lack of female hygiene products is a big factor why in rural parts of the country, women are dropping out of schools by the time they hit 13, 14, because they cannot access those things when it's unaffordable for them. The families don't even know that they need this. Either they're using the old arbitrary methods, get towel, shove up, and all that. So that he could raise awareness about that in general, and that could hit the male audience and all. It makes them uncomfortable. It makes them uncomfortable, whatever. I mean, there must be a way. Again, this is just me blurting, right? If I talk to a creative like Ali Rez, a person like Ali Rez or Sidra Salman at Sinai Digital, if I speak to them about it, I'm sure they can come up with a way around how to make it work.
I'm sure it
We're
is.
going to that
Just
and here's the female audience.
but it's also general audiences, right? So generally, I think आप
जी
पाकिस्तान में भी देखेंगे कि Facebook यूज किसी की ऑडियंस छोड़ दें, I think
जी
it skews somewhere between 80% male anyway. अगर आप एक general audience भी देख लेंगे,
true, that's true, you're right.
digital access है ही
There
नहीं औरतों के पास पाकिस्तान में.
there are exceptions though, like when you look at the analytics dashboards of a couple of companies, just a Hype Auditor hai, it's a Russian company that's coming into Pakistan in a few months, and then whatever the Group M's technology is, you can find the million follower influencers on Instagram and all that have a majority female audience, and now just spend with them. Like people have this thing stuck in their head that they cannot tell the difference between what is the science of influencer marketing and endorsements. They have no ability to distinguish between the two. They have this thing in their head that Mahira costs 5 million rupees if we put her in a TTC, but she only costs, let's say, 5 lakh rupees to hold a product on her Instagram account. But I have this thing in my head, I need Mahira's endorsement on my product. They do the Instagram deal and then they're happy with that without looking at audiences, engagement, whether it's click through rate, how much of our audience is fake, which these tools can tell you as well. So all these jitne PR agencies मेरी बात होती है, they're a little worried about these technologies coming in because a lot of the PR agencies in Pakistan propagate, but they are responsible for the idea that people have fake followers and fake engagement rate and all that. जो टेक्नोलॉजी का काफी आसानी से डिटेक्ट कर.
तो मैं एक बुटीक डिजिटल मार्केटिंग एजेंसी भी चलाता हूँ और ये सारे काम करता हूँ. मेरी भी एक रिसेंटली मीटिंग भी हुई थी और मैं उनको समझा रहा था कि कितना अच्छा एक हमारे फेमस व्लॉगर ने एक प्रोडक्ट बनाकर दिया, जबरदस्त है, एवरीबॉडी वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट इट. दे वर लाइक हमारे जो मेट्रिक्स हैं, जो कंपनी के मेट्रिक्स थे, उन्होंने 10x अमाउंट उसका एक मॉडल को दिया जो टीवी के ऐड में आई थी. और टीवी का ऐड कितने का होता है ये सबको पता है. एंड देयर लाइक द एंटायर मार्केट रिकॉल इज कि ये वो एक्ट्रेस वाला प्रोडक्ट है ना, and nobody even knows the web wala recall. So they're stuck in that model and their position is कि that model works. कि आप एक एक्ट्रेस को ले लें और उसकी रिकग्नाइजेबिलिटी है कि यार शाहरुख खान आया था इस एड में और ये शाहरुख खान वाली घड़ी है, सो लोग खरीदेंगे.
जी.
So is the market still there?
Yeah, I think it's still there. Again, I don't dabble in influencer marketing myself. The people I know who apply science to it, that apply true data to it, they've seen the results. They boast about a 25x return, $25 for every dollar they put in combined, like the cost of the influencer, the production, everything. Yes. It's got 25x.
But Babar, you're discussing data. I agree with you. I do that as well, right? Getting Erika Huck to do a video will get you better metrics than maybe even getting Mahira Khan, क्योंकि उसकी audience web पर ज़्यादा है. पर अगर आप हैं रोलेक्स, जो भी हैं आप मर्सिडीज हैं, आप ऑडी हैं, you're not going to get Erika Haq, you're going to get Mahira, especially in a country like Pakistan जहाँ एक perception है, right, कि Mahira का नाम comes with that perception जो एक टिकटॉकर would not. इतने बड़े ब्रांड्स को मैं 3 साल से बोल रहा हूँ and वो हंसते थे मेरे पे. I'd be like, get TikTokers. Now they're getting TikTokers finally. बट मैं ये 2 साल से सर मार रहा हूँ बिकॉज दे वुडंट गेट अ टिकटॉकर, को एक परसेप्शन है कि यार ये टिकटॉकर, हमारा इतना बड़ा ब्रांड, ये टिकटॉकर लेगा अब.
यार वो it's a little bit of arrogance as well, right? The people who are making these decisions, because they're not on TikTok, they've never experienced it firsthand, but the third hand they're getting someone else, a friend of a friend of a friend said that TikTok is for a certain SEC that they don't relate to or they think they look down upon, and so they say okay, we'll dismiss the whole platform altogether. Like in the SEC A and B in the US is using TikTok, so it's not like it's something just for DEF. It's accessible to DEF because it's possibly a lesser load on their phones and it has better reach. आप वही चीज TikTok पे डालें. If TikTok is 50 million people and Instagram is 50 million people, if you put something on TikTok, the way the algorithm is built on TikTok and Snack Video and Likey, it doesn't try to suppress your views. As opposed to an Instagram. Instagram says pay me money in order to get more virality. These these Chinese apps don't say that. They have an entirely different monetization model. So they want you to go viral overnight. It's in their vested interest. They will use that virality to sell products down the line. उनकी business model अगर आप देखें, उनकी prospectus देखें, they don't care about, they will not like blackmail you and all that. The only kind of problem about these Chinese apps is that all three of them, the one I just mentioned right now, have started going around to, again, communities where SEC, CDE, primarily exist, and saying to them that if you only create content using our app and stay on our app and don't place your content on any other apps, we will give you $1,000, $2,000 a month, जो भी वो इनका एक fee होता है, and put all your eggs in this one basket. अब क्या होगा, जिस तरह करीम का था, आपको याद है जब करीम बिल्कुल शुरू में पाकिस्तान में आया था, people used to brag कि I'm a driver and I'm making $1 lakh per month, and because उनके bonuses इतने ज़्यादा थे, because they were doing driver acquisition. अब देखें, people are complaining constantly, Kareem captains constantly, because bonuses have gone away, completely gone away. I guarantee the same thing will happen in this case. It's happened over and over again in every market this company has existed in. These companies, but it's the same playbook they had in India, and that's why people hated them in India for this exact reason. Agar aap root cause unki backlash pe jaएं, it was actually this, that they offered bonuses, people put all their eggs in one basket, and then they stopped offering those bonuses, then they complained, and then those apps got deleted.
And they're stuck now.
जी जी,
तो करीम कैप्टन बेचारे कंप्लेन करते रहते हैं, वो फंस गए बेचारे, क्या करें। उन्होंने अगर इतने लोगों ने वो लोन्स पे अब गाड़ियां उठा ली, क्यों करीम इतने बनाता है, लोन इतने दूंगा, इतने कमाऊंगा, करीम का अमाउंट हो गया श्रिंक, लोन का आपने वही अमाउंट किस्तें देनी है। एंड यहाँ मेरी खुद की भी एलिटिज्म आ रही है। यू मेंशन स्नैक वीडियो एंड आई वाज लाइक, स्नैक वीडियो पे कौन एडवर्टाइज करेगा? लेकिन मुझे रिसेंटली पता चला स्नैक वीडियो यूट्यूब पे कितना एडवर्टाइज करता है। सो यू नो पीपल जोक अबाउट हर हमें वो स्नैक वीडियो नजर आ रही है। अगर आपको अमाउंट पता चल जाए ना स्नैक वीडियो महीने के कितने डाल रहे हैं, आपको लगेगा वकार ज़का शायद फंड कर रहा है स्नैक वीडियो, बिकॉज़ इट्स अ लॉट ऑफ मनी। बट मैं आपको क्रक्स बता देता हूँ इस प्रॉब्लम का। ये जो परसेप्शन है ना, ब्रांड मैनेजर्स होते हैं आपके IBA, CBM, लम्स के सारे, इवन अगर उनके प्रोडक्ट्स वो है ना जो SEC C और D को टारगेट करते हैं जी, उनको अपने दोस्तों में भी परसेप्शन चाहिए। तो उनको चाहिए वो स्टार्स के मैं अपने दोस्तों में, हाँ यार मायरा हमारे प्रोडक्ट में थी। वो अपना परसेप्शन बनाने के लिए अपने ग्रुप्स में ये नहीं सोचते कि ये प्रोडक्ट है किसके लिए, ये टारगेट किसका होगा, इसका डेटा क्या होगा। So that people in the middle is a huge factor rather than just data and analytics.
Yeah, you're right. That's definitely something that happens. जिस तरह होता है ना कि आप अक्सर स्टोरी सुनते हैं कि the brand manager went home, told his wife about the ad, and she said, "फला change कर लो, एक्टर चेंज कर लो, एक्ट्रेस." मुझे नहीं लगता कि this will work. मेरी अम्मी तो फला नहीं करती, तो therefore the insight is wrong. Market Kantar comes back with market research that talk to 1,000 women about their daily habits and comes to a unified idea of definitely the daily routine involves A, B, and C, like a general idea. अब brand manager कहता है लेकिन मेरी माँ तो नहीं करती, therefore I discount the whole research. This happens quite a bit. Again, I've heard from third hand and all that. And this is what's called lack of market orientation, where the marketer, unfortunately, has not been एक activity होती है, मैंने जब बाहर भी काम किया, एक activity होती है that every marketer goes through, where you get a job as a brand manager today, and you're sat down, and for 30 consecutive days, one way or the other, your supervisor tells you that you are not the customer, and you are not the customer. The market research will tell you who the customer is, and you will cater to the customer's needs only. What you think the product should be priced, what you think the product should be distributed, that means nothing. The data and the research will tell us everything. It's your job just to use the data effectively. जो पाकिस्तान में बिल्कुल नहीं होता, they just hire brand manager, they're like जो दिल चाहे कर लो. And if there's anything wrong with the Pakistan advertising and media market, it boils down to the brand managers. Pura blame इनके हाथ में. If today a brand manager gets up and says, no, I don't want to use Fana rating service, I want to use someone else, then that other rating service will start to exist. Demand will dictate supply. Ulta nahi hai yahan par. Like, and they don't want to do it because everyone's in their immigration mindset. Yeah, they're in the short-termism mindset. I'm only being measured for the next 3 months, and I'm going to focus on getting a result in the next 3 months by hook or crook, whether that means views or likes or whatever. They don't talk about business value. फिर दूसरी बात, obviously हर कोई immigration की सोच रहा है, तो obviously they're collecting as much kickbacks as humanly possible because Canada 6 crore, Fana is whatever, you know, every country is different. You want houses abroad, आप भी 6 crore पे आप फिर से ट्रिगर हो गए।
मैं जब ये बस सोचता रहता हूँ ना कि लोग हर जीने के लिए इस दुनिया में कितने पैसे चाहिए होते हैं, तो फिर मैं जरा परेशानी हो जाता हूँ कि किस तरह कमा रहे हैं लोग। यार इट्स आल्सो इनिशिएटिव इज लुक डाउन अपॉन ना। अगर आप चाहें भी और आप फुल एंथुसियाज्म के साथ कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ज्वाइन करें, आप कुछ अलग करना चाहें, वहाँ जो बाबे बैठे हुए हैं ना, वो आपको ऐसे देखेंगे कि आपका दिमाग खराब हो गया है। इस तरह होता है, ये चीज हो रही है। बट थोड़ा डेविल्स एडवोकेट अगर हम करें कि जिस तरह पाकिस्तान में बहुत ज्यादा सेठियां कंपनी है, एंड यू नो इनिशियली जब मेरे अंदर भी बहुत इंथुजियाज्म था, मैं पिच डेक्स लेके जाता था, आइडियाज लेके जाता था, एंड उसका मुझे रिस्पॉन्स आता था, ये हम बनाते हैं, ये बिक रहा है, ये मैं क्यों करूं? एंड जस्ट सेइंग थिंग्स लाइक इट्स अ गुड थिंग टू डू, ब्रांडिंग, ये वो जो फैंसी टर्म्स हैं, इसके अलावा मेरे पास इसका कोई जवाब नहीं होता था। मैं जरा दुनिया घूम के अब वापस उस पॉइंट पे आ गया हूँ वेयर नाउ व्हेन आई हैव वर्कड अ लॉट इन दिस वर्ल्ड, अगर ये ब्रांडिंग और ये सब बॉटम लाइन अफेक्ट नहीं कर रही तो जेन्युइनली इन चीजों का क्या फायदा है? अगर आपकी बॉटम लाइन अफेक्ट नहीं होती इन चीजों से, व्हाट्स द पॉइंट?
हम्म
आई थिंक वो सेठ सही बात कर रहा था।
Mm-hmm. Actually, I meet with people like this quite often, and I use COVID as the business case to explain these things to them. So what the value of branding, if you focus on branding, is that you don't compete on price anymore. आप किसी से भी पूछ लें, when COVID happened, uh, in any business, let's pick up any fashion business, and there's a whole research I did on this that's available on our site, plug, and we did a whole research. A lot of people said that देखो, retail is dead because of COVID, and people cannot go to malls and all that, and so all the sales is happening on e-commerce. बहुत बड़ी hype थी about e-commerce. मैंने थोड़ी research की, asked a couple of difficult questions, and the research showed that if for every 100 rupees made, for every 100% of sales coming out of e-commerce, 75% were on discounted products and 25% were on full price products. मतलब कि Shahzad, today you can sell a $1 rupee, something you bought for 100 rupees, you can sell it for 50 rupees. And the world will be like, he sold something great, good job, billions of dollars for being sold. But no one talks about margins. No one talks about contribution margin, gross margin, net profit margin. So when you don't talk about these things, you just talk about the top line, then there's a lot of misconceptions that are going around the market. Branding से क्या होता है कि you compete on value, not on price. जो अभी ये Amazon का जो announcement हुआ है कुछ दिन पहले, और जो आज भी I think रज़ाक दाऊद ने जो confirmation दी, and it came on the site as well. इसमें क्या होगा कि there's a million people selling on Amazon right now, of which there exists this people from China, and they're all going to their culture, मतलब उनकी जो business culture है, it's much more agile than Pakistan. जो सेठ जो कहता है कि I want everyone in the office at 9 o'clock, लेकिन मैं अपने 12 बजे आऊँगा, और हर decision has to be run through me, and I will take my sweet 72 hours to make a decision, yes or no. So when you're working on Amazon, you're trying to sell something on Amazon, और Amazon आपको कहता है कि ये जो इमेज आपने लगाया, या जो टेक्स्ट लिखा है, या प्राइसिंग जो आपने लिखी गलत है, इसको चेंज करें, आज चेंज करें. अगर वो सेट 72 आवर्स लगाता है, आपका अकाउंट बैंड इज गॉन. So if Pakistan doesn't have the agility in all these things. So if Pakistan expects to benefit from Amazon in any way, or any kind of marketing in any way, जब आप brand पे focus करते हैं, then people buy your product regardless, and people use your product to tell a story about themselves. So उसमें pricing doesn't matter at all. People buy Nike because when you're wearing the Nike and you're wearing a swoosh, it tells people कि अच्छा, this person's athletic. You don't just wear Nike for the heck of it. आपको याद होगा mid 90s की बात है कि people used to wear those yellow wristbands of जी, लिव स्ट्रॉन्ग के वो क्या था? That was a way of bragging कि I support cancer research. So people wear these brands, people wear things that they can tell a story about themselves. Look, I'm wearing Fana. That means I'm rich. I'm wearing just happen to wearing a sweatshirt. Okay, this is not a dig at you, but I'm just saying that people who are wearing like a lump sweatshirt, like कोई बंदा jog कर रहा है, he happens to have the lump hoodie on. What is he trying to tell people? He wore that on purpose, right? When he's going out for a jog. Look, I wear lumps.
नॉस्टैल्जिया भी हो सकता है, दिल भी चाह सकता है कि यार आप याद करें अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी.
I
No,
get it.
I think Atoms has done a very good job at branding.
जी
बट वो हैंड इन हैंड भी जाता है कि आप जिस तरह करीम है, उन्होंने ब्रांड
जी
बनाया सस्ता होकर, ऑडियंस ली,
जी
एक दफा जब ले ली तो फिर वो
हम्म
कैप्टिव ऑडियंस है. अमेजोन, मैं स्पेसिफिक सवाल पूछना चाहूंगा, जो अमेजोन बहुत ज्यादा सेलिब्रेट किया जा रहा है अभी कि यू नो they've given access to Pakistani sellers. Do you think it only will affect medium sized enterprises? क्योंकि at the end of the day अगर आपने पाकिस्तान से कुछ बेचना है, उसको शिप करना है यूएस, वहां पे वो अमेजोन वेयर हाउस जाएगा, अनलेस आपके पास कैपेसिटी है, पर ऑर्डर
जी
शिपिंग तो नहीं हो सकती ना. इफ समबडी ऑर्डर्स,
जी
आई डोंट नो, ट्रक आर्ट, वो एक अगर आप एयर शिप करेंगे उसकी तो डिलीवरी फी प्रोडक्ट से कोई 3-4 गुना होगी. सो दैट
जी
डजंट एग्जिस्ट. आपको कंटेनर लेके ही चीजें भेजनी पड़ेंगी, और बल्क में चीजें भेजनी पड़ेंगी, और वेयर हाउस करनी पड़ेंगी. सो ओनली
जी
प्रॉब्ली
जी
ओनली मीडियम साइज एंटरप्राइजेस कैन डू दैट. छोटे लोग तो नहीं अमेजोन पे डायरेक्टली बेच सकते.
So that's good that you brought it up, because actually everyone that we've spoken to from Amazon has said that Pakistan's post will have to adopt its business model or its operating model to be able to send eaches, जो छोटे packets होते हैं, as opposed to the container model. And yes, it'll be more expensive, लेकिन उसके हिसाब से you'll have to change your pricing to make up for that. अब वो वाली दूसरी बात है कि it'd be better if, to your point, what would be better is if a business is set up in Pakistan that represents the collective voice of all the exporters of Pakistan, and वहाँ पर containers are being sent and products can be stored in that particular warehouse that it is, and then वहाँ से it's sold in small packets to whatever the B2C customers and the B2B customers. The primary hope, according to the export associations of Pakistan and इस तरह के जो lobbying groups होते हैं, they hope to be able to double their exports with this. So Pakistan's exports of the last, I think, 4 years has been 24, 25, then 26, then 28 billion rupees. Like, dollars. It hasn't gone above 30 billion dollars at any year. So they're hoping this doubles. The main question is, okay, do you have the capacity to produce those things that you can double your exports or the quantity of the things you're selling? That's point number one. Point number two, in the event that you cannot produce it because your factories in Karangi and वहाँ पर बिजली गई है या water issues हैं या हड़ताल हो गया and all that, does your payments infrastructure in the country have a system where you can tell someone in China that this is my schematics, आप इस चीज को बनाएं इतनी quantity पे and drop ship it to America directly and I will obviously pay you. State Bank of Pakistan आपको कहता है कि नहीं, जब तक वो product आप पाकिस्तान में नहीं बुलाएंगे और उसकी import में आप receipt आप मुझे दिखाएं, I will not allow you to pay this gigantic amount of money to the supplier in China. So we don't support a drop shipping model in the country based on current State Bank of Pakistan. So that's another problem. Again, there's so many problems in the country that's like I was like, I spoke to an intermediary between myself and Razak Daud. I was like, fix this shit and then talk about Amazon. Aapki existing e-commerce model is so flawed right now. With nationwide e-commerce is flawed. How do you expect people to figure out international model e-commerce? So this will not be the solution.
मैं फ्री में दे देता हूँ आपको ये एडवाइस. मेरे पास एक सोल्यूशन है पाकिस्तान में इनिशिएटिव लाने के लिए, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप लाने के लिए, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, हर चीज लाने के लिए पाकिस्तान में मेरे पास एक एडवाइस है. ये जिसको फ्री में चाहिए वो इस्तेमाल कर सकता है. आप कंस्ट्रक्शन और जमीनें, इन चीजों को प्रॉफिटेबल किसी तरह से कम कर दें. जिस इंसान ने 3 करोड़ की जमीन ली है वो 1 साल में 9 करोड़ की हो गई है, उसका दिमाग खराब है कि वो कहीं और पैसे लगाएगा. If there is so much money to be made in land and construction, why would anybody want to invest anywhere else? Literally people are like, यार इतने पैसे कमा लो कि 2 DHA phase 8 में प्लॉट ले लो, बस फिर आपने जिंदगी भर की कमाई कर ली है. So but just to be clear, अगर मैं एक प्रोडक्ट मैं इन्वेंट करता हूँ, मैंने इन्वेंट किया, मैंने चाइना में उसकी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग डाल दी, सो अगर वो यूएस से कोई ऑर्डर करता है, मैं उसको पहले पाकिस्तान इंपोर्ट करूँ, यहाँ पे इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी दूँ और फिर पाकिस्तान से उसको यूएस भेजूँ.
That's the rules right now, and that's not the way the world works, right? The world works in agility.
So wouldn't I just instead, sorry Babar, I'm cutting you, but just to clarify, wouldn't I just instead register that company somewhere else and be like, ठीक है पाकिस्तान, आप अपना रेगुलराइज करें, जो करना है करें, मैं आपसे डील ही नहीं कर रहा.
That's exactly what the people have said when there was a call between the fintech community and State Bank about this. They said that if you don't fix this by, I think they said 30th June, but someone very senior on the call said, if you don't fix this by 30th June, we'll just register our businesses abroad. We'll pay the taxes on that country. We'll give them the GST and all those other things. जो पाकिस्तान में नहीं मिलता. You have, because the thing about this government, I mean, I voted for them, but the thing about this government is every time, I don't care. Every time, and I'm based in Islamabad, so I have to meet these people all the time. So every time there's been a press conference where, I don't mind saying this, but every time Imran Khan's been told, okay, this is a problem, ठीक है, कोई problem बता दी. He says, okay, जी हाँ, you know, it's a big problem and all that, and we will resolve it. No one bloody asked him कब. I'm the only one like screaming at the TV like bloody business reporter. Ask him कब, deadline दो. Deadline नहीं दोगे तो कब, मतलब ask us, tell him that he used to say that by Q4 2021 this will be resolved. हम इसको ठीक करेंगे, कमेटी बनाएंगे और ये इंशाल्लाह ठीक हो जाएगा.
वो अगर आप कहते हैं कि यार क्यों नहीं हो रहा, so they will be like, हमें तो 3 साल हुए हैं, ये मसला 10 साल से चल रहा है, ये आपने कभी कहा, उनको कहा, ये 10 साल का मलबा है, ये 3 साल में ठीक थोड़ी होगा. वो मेरे ख्याल से पूरे 5 साल निकाल देंगे ये कहते कहते कि बस पिछले 10 साल में जो हुआ है वो ठीक नहीं होगा. But these are easy solutions. These are like, I know कि magic solutions नहीं होते, but this literally seems like a wave of a wand type solution कि यार भाई, you know, a lot of the big YouTubers in Pakistan are registered in India. तो वो कोई पैसे आपको नहीं आते just because आपने over regularize करना है, penny wise pound foolish जिसको कहते हैं. सब पाकिस्तान से बाहर रजिस्टर करेंगे और बिजनेस करेंगे and you will just not get anything out of that.
जी. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's self-created wounds. उसमें यही है कि the other problem with Amazon is just like any other platform. जिस तरह हमने कितने बार देखा है कि PTA bans certain apps. So for one day your YouTube is gone. For one day, whatever, you could have done a sponsored deal with Raycon or something like that was supposed to go out tomorrow, and tomorrow PTA decides for whatever reason that we have to block the entire app. So if your client is क्या कहते हैं, considerate enough, maybe they'll overlook it. Like, and that can affect your business, right? There's no like liability expense that PTA is paying to you, or any opportunity cost. So keeping that and keeping these things in mind, there are platforms out there that get banned, but websites don't necessarily get banned that easily, or doesn't get banned overall. It's not a very smart idea to register or put all your eggs in the Amazon basket, in the sense that kal ko, I anticipate this is going to happen. I guarantee it. Things are going to take off. Let's say things take off, inshallah, with businesses in Pakistan, large, medium, small, doesn't really matter. Some psycho person, जो काफी है पाकिस्तान में, will say कि सलमान रश्दी का फला किताब is being sold on Amazon, Amazon का पूरा बैन कर,
पूरा बता दें,
psycho is going to do
बता
it.
भी दें उनको एग्जैक्टली कौन सी किताब बिक रही है, ताकि वो
exactly.
नेक्स्ट टाइम उनके पास इंफॉर्मेशन हो कि किस बात पे हमने बंद करना है Amazon.
ये marketplace ये चीज भेज रहा है, तो therefore ban the entire marketplace. You're like, don't go there and don't buy it. What's the rocket science? लेकिन नहीं, the Jahalat Brigade and the Islamic Psycho Brigade is going to jump on it and get the whole website banned, without looking at the fact it's bringing in export money, and you idiots aren't doing jack shit for the entire country, no matter how much you try. So I've
always also blamed the fundos, but it's not the fundos, it's the capitalists, it's the people जिनके vested interest होते हैं. तो चुड़ैल के खिलाफ भी जो हुआ, Z5 भी जो बैन हुआ, वो फंडोज ने नहीं करवाया. वो ये जो हम मीडिया कार्टेल की बात कर रहे हैं कि ये कैसे, कि ये एक और प्लेटफॉर्म पाकिस्तान में पैसे देगा जो क्रिएटिव्स के पास जाएगा, और वो क्रिएटिव काम करेंगे, जो काम देखकर लोग बोलेंगे ये ARY हम के ड्रामे तो हमें मिलकर सारे उल्लू बना रहे हैं, ये कैसे हम होने दे सकते हैं. उन्होंने करवाया. सो आई थिंक खुदा ना खासा Amazon होता है, it'll be the same people जो अपने कैपिटलिस्ट इंटरेस्ट प्रोटेक्ट कर रहे हैं इस्तेमाल करके ये चीजें.
जी, I agree. Maybe I was getting to that the tool that they're using is the front that they're using is these people. In order to justify it, they cannot say that we're losing money and therefore we want to make the competition go away. No one's going to listen to that, right? They have to come out with an angle that the masses can gravitate towards. Acha, ye ho raha hai. Masses to वैसे भी they're pissed off out of their minds. आपके जो, again, I keep bringing up the same point. Like in your interview with Ali Urpir really hit home on this case. People are so upset that they just, they project their anger on other things. They're upset about their own lives, so they'll shit on a creator because their person's life is better. So इसमें यही चीज है कि instead of going about it a smarter way, it's better to just go about it the Islamic angle. No one's going to say कि I'm upset with Shahzad Ghayaz because he's successful. They'll be like, I have to find something. इसके बाल लंबे हैं तो फना anti-Islam.
आजकल मेरे बाल बहुत ज्यादा डिस्कस हो रहे हैं कमेंट सेक्शन में.
The leaps and bounds, I like it. Yeah, good look. I like this look, and when you had that spiked look, these are the two good looks.
Spiked look बहुत ही पहले थी, अब तो ये क्वारंटीन हेयर डोंट केयर हो गया, गर्मी बहुत ज्यादा है, तो रोज मेरा मूड होता है कि मैं ट्रिमर लेके.
I still sometimes get triggered with that joke of yours with this auntie walking on the street and she's like, hey, आप सब मेरे लिए रुक जाएं. जो आपका एक जोक होता था
इसी ज़माने में. हाँ, वो जो थैलियां लेके गाड़ी रोकती थी.
मैं रोड पे चल रही हूँ and I'm taking my sweet time. अभी तक होता है.
या इसलिए F1 भी नहीं आएगा ना पाकिस्तान में. अगर माइकल शूमाकर भी जा रहा हो तो कोई आंटी रोड, ए बेटा शूमाकर बेटा एक मिनट रोड क्रॉस करना है मैंने. So in terms of advertising, you do advertising reporting, you do investigative reporting. हम बात करते हैं कि जी डीप स्टेट बड़ा खतरनाक है, ये चीजें हैं, बट ये चीजें तो फिर कोई भी नहीं बात करता है ना, बिकॉज ये तो उनकी बॉटम लाइन इफेक्ट होगी. अगर न्यूज रिपोर्ट करेगी ऑन द करप्शन इन एडवर्टाइजिंग इन मीडिया, तो उनको एडवर्टाइजिंग इन मीडिया कहाँ से मिलेगी?
That the elephant in the room ना, हमारे one of our editors was at this massive sort of a all press Pakistan event, even with COVID going on. He was there and someone was saying कि मतलब they were pulling each other's leg. कोई कह रहा था कि यार ARY तो गवर्नमेंट के खिलाफ कोई कभी कुछ नहीं कहती, और कोई फलां को कह रहा था तुम मलिक रियाज के बारे में कुछ नहीं कहोगे, you're all like sellouts, pointing finger, sellout. फिर उनकी बारी है, इनका कि so and so साहब, what do you think? He's like, raise your hand if you cover the advertising and media industry. Not a single person raised their hand, and they all like basically gave him the stink eye. Because they're like, yeah, we don't cover this because it's the hand that feeds us. अब वो अगर हम बहुत empathy वाले angle पे चले जाएं, then we know that these people are dealing with media agencies on a daily basis. As a tiny example, there's this company in Karachi called iTechnology Limited. NAB reached out to us with some documents. NAB reached out to us with documents saying, "Okay, look at all this proof that this company called iTechnology defrauded the Balochistan government of $2 million, 300 million rupee ka koi scam unne kiya tha. They took money from them, but they didn't deliver." And this is again NAB telling us this stuff. We wrote an article about it, and then the media agency that handles the work for them, for this company called iTechnology, they reached out to our editors and they said, "Okay, get this article deleted, and an unconditional apology from the reporters, and X, Y, and Z, जो भी extra चीजें होती हैं, वरना हम आपका business खींच लेंगे, हम आपको blacklist करेंगे, you know, all these threats." And our editors, they reached out to me and they said, "Okay," they just asked one question: Was this news true? Can you give us the more evidence all the evidence you had? Because Prophet and Pakistan today, the way they operate is they have a lot of senior reporters on hand. So when we have a whistleblower come to us with anything, we don't necessarily have to show that whistleblower information to the editors. They kind of take our word for it because we're so senior and we've been doing this while. And again, we also experience the liability, right? That was the only point I shared that NAB information. Then someone very senior from NAB themselves reached out and said, yeah, this is true, obviously. We didn't just print anything we wanted to. And not a single publication in the entire Pakistan covered this as well. Because that media agency that got in touch with us, got in touch with all of them and said, if any of you cover this or write about this as well, देखो हमारे साथ क्या करते हैं. Because I have, जिस तरह हम वकार ज़का की बात करते रहते हैं, I have profit.
अब आप उसका नाम नहीं लेंगे, हमने बहुत उसको इज्जत दे दी है.
I have profit, obviously, but then I also have a Substack under my name called babar.substack.com. And वहाँ पर I put analysis reports and all that. And I would say about 4 of my subscribers are very, very powerful people in Pakistan of various industries. So in that way, I'm protected by them. Whenever I have a threat like this against me, I just have to inform them that someone's threatening my life about A, B, and C, and they threaten to come to my house, and they make that threat go away completely. So in the same vein, I'm able to, again, get away with these things. Maybe you could call it privilege, this word that's thrown around quite a bit. Maybe it's my privilege that I have a subscriber base that's very powerful people, because I've only focused on a small audience. I don't care about getting 1 million people to look at my stuff. I care about 10,000 people who control $2 billion worth of media spending. That's more valuable to me than getting 1 million unemployed people to watch my stuff. Ask yourself, was it very valuable to get 1 million unemployed students to watch your stuff and 10,000 white collar workers? There's a big difference between the two in the disposable income.
Again, हम बड़ी चीजें बहुत आराम से देख लेते हैं. छोटे छोटे लोगों के पास भी इतना होता है. ये जो रिलेशनशिप मैनेजर्स होते हैं एजेंसी पे, एक एजेंसी पर एक ब्रांड है जिधर एक इंसान मर गया था रिलेटेड टू दैट ब्रांड समहाउ. ये न्यूज आ गई अखबार में. गालियां, बड़े बड़े अखबार को फोन करके गालियां कि तुम्हारी हिम्मत कैसी हुई. ये एक रिलेशनशिप मैनेजर जिसकी कोई 50-60-70 हजार रुपए टाइप तनख्वाह होगी उस एजेंसी पर. एंड या द न्यूज वेंट अवे, सारी ऑनलाइन उसकी डिलीट हो गई, सब खत्म हो गया. बिकॉज अगर आपकी सारी एडवर्टाइजिंग एजेंसी के थ्रू आ रही है और उनका दूसरा क्लाइंट है, तो क्लाइंट अगर एजेंसी को फोन करेगा कि न्यूज हटवा दो, तो आप हटा देंगे. माफिया है, माफिया.
जी जी बिल्कुल. तो यही बात है ना कि the reason Prophet, again, I don't have everyone's numbers, but the reason Pakistan today, when I look at there's transparency across the entire organization in terms of what the publication makes. So the reason I feel that why the publication is doing as well as it is because it goes after niche topics that no one else is going after. Yes, we have financial journalism. We have 2 female reporters that cover stock market and a bunch of things that go over my head, oil prices and gold prices. I read those stories and I think I can fall asleep. But going after the advertising and media industry is literally the hand that feeds you. Like, we have a subscriber model. Again, this comes back over and over again that you must diversify away from the advertising and views model to go into the subscriber model. Jo aap bhi definitely, I'm sure, kar rahe honge. And anyone who's watching, if you like what Shahzad's doing, please support his Patreon.
Patreon.com/the Pakistan experience. That's the only way that ये चल सकेगा. तो advertising sponsorship तो मुश्किल है, जिस तरह की हम बातें करते हैं. Patreon is the only way that we would survive.
May I just say this for your audience, and this is for everyone basically. If you don't pay Shahzad and he comes out with something commercial, that is entirely your fault. Okay? He can either serve you, he serves whoever pays him. So either he can serve you, the subscriber, or he can serve the advertiser. Today, if I lose my subscriber base and a brand comes to me and says, Babar, make it seem that that Aquafina is the best water in Pakistan, I'll push that out because I need to pay my bills as well. But if you don't want me to say that, if you, the audience, don't want me to say that, then you pay my bills. that's just the reality of the way the world
Babar,
works.
you
If you
think
don't
I have
like it,
much more of a
you don't.
spine than I do? आप लोग मुझे Patreon देंगे, मैं फिर भी commercial sell out करूंगा क्या?
कोई बात नहीं, आप
Seven
you
up.
every right to make as much money. हाँ, you have every
I
right
have
to
no
make as much
issues
money.
endorsing products unless वो कुछ वाकई harm ना cause करते हो.
जी जी
I mean like endorsing मुझे कोई इतना ज़्यादा issue नहीं है unless कोई वाकई उस product में कोई मसला मसाइल हो.
जी जी. Well, on that point, BetterHelp is coming to Pakistan. BetterHelp.com, जो online therapy service है, they're coming to Pakistan. They're currently doing the acquisition of therapists, जो काफी कम है apparently Pakistan में, I think 4,000 है, something like that. So they're gonna be going around to all the big influencers and saying to them, can you know plug in के BetterHelp.com
यार ये
/
मैंने कभी आज तक ₹1 नहीं लिया ये काम करने का, बट
अच्छा
somehow mental health influencer मेरा उसमें आ जाता है because I talk about it a lot. आज तक मैंने किसी से कोई पैसे नहीं लिए, कुछ भी नहीं किया to talk about mental health. I don't know about better health, but मुझे उनकी advertising बिल्कुल नहीं अच्छी लगती. I've seen some of their
अच्छा
ad creatives. They're very bad.
हम्म
They're very like वो
अच्छा
बंदी रो रही है, and you know that fetishization of depression. So as somebody who suffered through depression myself, मुझे उनके creative से
जी
बहुत
जी
ज़्यादा मसला है.
अच्छा. So anyway, the reality is that when they eventually announce that they're officially coming to Pakistan, then all their 40 copycats will also come in. It's very simple. It's like a Skype, marketplace model. So,
So but
it's
going back to
जी
Amazon, are we going to have an
जी
Amazon.pk? Is that the eventual
नहीं
plan? नहीं?
नहीं, I don't think so because it doesn't make sense to them. They've SEO'd the shit out of the words Amazon.com, right? The max just Singapore में होता है Amazon.sg, if I'm not mistaken. But that's a huge market. It has to prove, Pakistan has to prove itself in order to get all these things. .pk की बात कर रहे हैं. But I don't think there's going to be need because when I speak to these sellers who intend to register, their whole focus is on exporting. Because वो कहते हैं कि अगर आप Alexa ranking देखें, then the top 5 sites में से Amazon comes in definitely. Lekin whether those people have, the people within Pakistan who are visiting Amazon.com, whether they have the money to spend on Amazon is or not is debatable. Lekin it's much more better to go after the export market than it is to go after the national market. अगर national market को आपको जाना था वैसे भी, then you could have just done Facebook and Google advertising anyway. Why do you need an entirely different marketplace जो आपको उसको separately बेचते हैं? मैंने example हमारे एक article मैंने this Monday हमने निकाला था जिसमें मैंने बताया कि if your product is, and this is like a best case scenario, and I was like, if your product it costs $100, sorry, if your product is priced at $100 and it costs you $1 to create it, okay, that's $99 profit after cost of goods sold, and you are shipping the tiniest pouch, the 10-ounce pouch that Amazon's going to handle for you, and you use fulfilled by Amazon, you're keeping $79 at the end of that, as opposed to whatever the other number would be. Amazon ka ye hai, if you look at their business model everywhere in the world, there's antitrust cases against Amazon in every market that you can think of, including India. India could be in a chora. Why do you think Jeff Bezos had to go to India recently? He had to go resolve a bunch of things in person. What was it that Amazon does this? If you don't use their fulfillment by Amazon service, which is basically their own version of TCS, right? What they say is that look at this category that's making a lot of money. They look at what are the barriers for us to create this category and slap our own logo on top of it. If the
Amazon
barriers are
Basics.
nil, and then they sell that product at a much better price than you, and this is called predatory pricing. And then this is how they've killed a bunch of SMEs in India and other markets as well. So it's beneficial. Again, that's why I keep coming back to this point that if brands want to win against Amazon or on Amazon or against Amazon, they have to focus on their branding and their value proposition oriented marketing instead of their pricing marketing. Just like Pakistan mein dekhte hain ki the only reason women are jumping to the stores of a certain brand are because they said now the outfit has gone from 4,000 rupees to 3,000 rupees. If that is the reason people are coming into your store, that means you're a commodity. But if people are coming to your store despite the price drops or without any price drops, then you're a brand. The difference between a brand and a commodity is pricing. Like people buy value. If you're buying for value, you're buying a brand. If you're buying for pricing, you're buying a commodity. Think of that.
In
So
an
we don't
ideal
have.
world, in an ideal world, absolutely right कि मैं अगर बनाता हूँ, again 7 Up सामने पड़ी हुई है, तो आप 7 Up ढूंढेंगे तो आपको मिलेगी. But if you're on Amazon, let's say आप बनाते हैं pens बनाते हैं आप, ठीक है? More likely than not, unless you're like a Parker pen or something specific, I'm going to search for pens.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look at ratings.
Yeah.
अगर एक 1000 ratings 5 star हैं और या 4.9 उसकी overall है, I wouldn't
Huh.
care what the product is called. So if you're
Yeah.
on Amazon, isn't it more
Yeah.
prudent for you to create your presence on Amazon कि आप अपनी 1000-2000 rating, भले if you're making a loss, doesn't matter.
जी.
If you sell
जी.
200,000 units on a loss, but आपकी उससे 20,000 लोगों ने उसमें से 5-star rating दे दी. Now you can
जी.
sell 1,000,000 more and make a lot more money.
जी. That's true. But and I'm not discouraging. My point about this is not to discourage anyone from making an account there. It's just that know what you're getting into. एक किताब है ना, what to expect when you're expecting. That book is not to say, okay, don't get pregnant. That book is like, when you get pregnant, these are the 40 things that are going to happen to you. So don't be like, हाँ ये कैसे हो गया मेरे साथ. This is the same with Amazon. There should be a what to expect when you're expecting version of Amazon. Okay, this is the shit that can go wrong, and this is the shit that can go right. It's about knowing what could go wrong and safeguarding yourself against that. So again, I'm pushing the value-oriented model more than anything else at people, and also reminding them that if tomorrow, again, वो तो दूर की बात है कि PTA bans the website and you cannot access it again. But Amazon itself could be upset with you because maybe, and ये तो होगा ना, ये तो लिखा हुआ है, मतलब अगर you know, if Islam allowed bets, then I would bet on this. Like I would bet $1 million on this. कि the businesses and IT businesses in Pakistan जो fake academic reports जो लिखते हैं, they're going to start recruiting people to write fake reviews on Amazon. ये होगा, ये 100% होगा.
So again, Amazon's
Because
also
we
a
love.
little smart about it. They know this, so they also track down fake reviews.
Again, people will try, right? I'm not saying that I'm not discounting what you said, but people will definitely try gaming the system. So it could happen that down the line, Amazon says to someone that we figured it out that either your customers are, but you're showing this and the customer's getting something else. What you're showing them, what they're getting, ज़मीन आसमान का फर्क जो आज दराज पे भी होता है, with that drone video जो आपको याद है. So अगर ये दराज
मैं
पे हो रहा है,
खुद भी मैं दराज से चीजें ऑर्डर कर चुका हूँ, तो मुझे पता है.
जी. So we know that these situations will occur where what you've ordered and what you're getting is different. The customer reviews may be bad. This delivery time may be bad. Various things would go wrong. That Amazon at some point, which Amazon, the company is very customer centric. They care about. They don't care about the employees. They don't care about anyone, but they care about their customers more than anything else. If enough customers tell Amazon that this page is bad, or this page, the business that represents this page is not in my favor, they're going to kill your page. And मतलब वही वाली बात है ना कि the country and the people in the country are very used to saying, you know who my dad is, you know who I am. None of this shit matters to Amazon. Jeff Bezos, the person, is worth, Amazon, the company, is worth 6 times your country. So have fun going to Amazon and saying तुम जानते मैं कौन, right? You know,
इसीलिए तो वो मेरे ख्याल से अब यहाँ दफ्तर नहीं खोलेंगे ना, वो पॉसिबिलिटी है कि आप यहाँ जाके दफ्तर चला दें.
Well, Amazon is not going to open an office in Pakistan. It's not going to pay any of the taxes on any of the income it makes at all. It's one of those deals where Amazon is a company that went to New York's mayor and said to him that if you want us to open an HQ in your city, you have to sign this document that says we will not pay a dime in taxes. So if they have the balls to go after New York's mayor like that, imagine how powerful their deal structure was with Pakistan.
De Blasio actually wanted it. AOC ने काफी उस पे protest किया, जिसकी वजह से वो रुक गया. But De Blasio was all in for it. So yeah, वो क्यों खोलेंगे यार? हम कहते हैं Netflix invest so much in India, yeah, because उनको उसका वो मिलता है ना, वो कोई सगे नहीं है उनके, उसका रिटर्न मिलता है, इसलिए वो वहाँ पे इन्वेस्ट करते हैं. यहाँ पे उनको रिटर्न भी नहीं मिलेगा. इंडिया का जो कंटेंट है वो पाकिस्तान में चल भी रहा है, ऑडियंस केटर टू भी है. आप दराज पे नेटफ्लिक्स बेच रहे होते हैं लोग महीने का, कुछ समझ नहीं आता कि किस तरह कर रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं. सो व्हाई वुड दे एवर डू इट? प्लस द रिस्क कि कल को खुदा ना खास्ता नेटफ्लिक्स से कुछ आ गई मूवी, आपने आके दफ्तर बंद कर देना है, आपने आके दफ्तर चला देने हैं, वेबसाइट बंद कर देनी है. सो देयर इज वेरी लिटिल अपसाइड फॉर दीस लार्ज टेक कंपनीज टू कम टू पाकिस्तान.
Absolutely, 100% I agree. And so they're getting away with it, right? And on an annual basis, Google and Facebook combined make about $350 to $375 million of Pakistan. They don't pay any of that in taxes in Pakistan. All that money goes direct to Singapore. They don't give a dime to Pakistan. There's also the media agencies' hand in this as well, where they don't disclose how they're moving the money around. Like Singapore making office bana diya and all that, and they have a way of moving the money around in that way. FIA is actually looking into all of this. So these foreign companies, yes, work with them, but also know what you're getting into, and so have a, if nothing else, think of it as a PR exercise. Okay, when things go wrong, then you have a PR. Public relations में कहते हैं scenario planning, where you can figure out how are we going to respond to scenarios A, B, and C. as opposed to never thinking that your plane's my plane is never going to crash. And so we have no PR plan around that. That's why Malaysian Airlines, to the point it crashed, to the point they actually responded. About 2 weeks went by because they had to devise a way of thinking of how we're going to respond to this.
So there
And by
two,
the
since branding is something that I'm really interested in and something that I do as well, दो डायरेक्शन में चीजें जा सकती है ना. एक when we're talking about branding, yes, अगर आप इतना ब्रांड, जिस तरह आप कोका कोला है, राइट, कोई जाके दुकान पे ये नहीं बोलेगा आई वांट टू ऑर्डर अ सोडा, ये कोई नहीं कहता. सोडा दे दें, ये कोई नहीं कहता. शायद पाकिस्तान में सॉफ्ट ड्रिंक्स फिर भी कहते हो, फनी के दैट स्टिल अ टर्म इन पाकिस्तान के सॉफ्ट ड्रिंक मिलेगी, बट सोडा कोई नहीं कहता. अगर आपको कोक चाहिए आप कोक मांगोगे बिकॉज कोक इज दैट ब्रांड. बट अब जिस लेवल पे हम जा रहे हैं कि जी आई एम श्योर इट्स ऑलरेडी डन बाय पीपल इन द यूएस, बट इटली पाकिस्तान टेक में थोड़ा पीछे है. और अगर होता भी है तो कम होता है, ज्यादा नहीं होता होगा. बट अगर मैं यूएस में हूँ नेक्स्ट ईयर एंड मुझे मेरा बाथरूम खराब हो गया, आई एम गोइंग टू बी लाइक एलेक्सा ऑर्डर मी अ प्लम्बर. वो कौन सा प्लम्बर ऑर्डर करेगी? यू विल ऑर्डर द नंबर 1 प्लम्बर नियर यू ऑन Amazon. तो अगर आपकी Amazon की रेटिंग है या अगर आपकी Google SEO पे रेटिंग है, that's what Amazon, that's what Alexa would order. Yes, अगर आप प्लम्बर हैं, आप इतना ब्रांड बना लें कि मैं बोलूं नहीं Alexa call Mr. Fix It. जी. Unless you're at that level, जी, आप you have to fight the SEO Amazon battle. जी, जी. Well, there's SEO, but then there's also paid advertising. So Amazon is making about $19 billion this year from its advertising services. What that means is जब आप Amazon पे जाते हैं, जी, Amazon ads, जब आप Amazon पे जाते हैं कि let's say I have a page on Amazon called the barber shop, and I'm selling products on there. Now I'm hoping someone stumbles upon my page as organically, या तो I place that URL on a specific ad and hopefully traffic is coming that way. The other option is that someone who is casually browsing Amazon.com, जिस तरह Google पे search ads come at the top, you can place those search ads on the right, left, up and down in the middle of the feed. Amazon allows you to do that and obviously charges you money around that. So they're going to open that up even with their Alexa and all that. उनको कहें कि this is the keyword bidding around the word plumber, for example. And right now it's at $4, $5, or banda likh leta hai usme ki I'm ready to pay up to $10 for this lead for the when person someone asks. Because ye to ek, it's not one of those things where it's a qualified lead. It is a converted lead. If someone is saying I need this now in my house, no one like window shops plumbers. You only call it plumber jab need hoti hai. You don't like casually browse for plumbers ke agar kuch ho. So in that way, I'm sure, and they've done that in the US. But obviously, if they do that in Pakistan, it'll be the same PPC model that everyone applies right now for SEO for search advertising. So in that way, you can compete. In that way, again, you can do what you're saying, where it's like organically, painstakingly spend months and months and months on your search optimization from an audio and a text basis, which is less, I would say, expensive in the long run, and it's much more beneficial in the long run. But then the quick fix is to again pay a horrendous amount for that click through or whatever. I don't know what the click through to physical hota hai. I don't know कि voice के through click through उसको क्या कहते होंगे. But ये horrendous amount नहीं है. I think ये people who bought Google ads, people who bought Facebook ads, people who bought Instagram ads शुरू में, जी, they're minting money. So like मेरे Facebook page पे I have 116,000 followers. एंड कभी कभी लोग सोचते हैं कैसे क्या. आई वाज लाइक वो शुरू में ऑर्गेनिक होता था. Facebook was vested in promoting my videos. I didn't pay Facebook, but because I made content 10 years ago, 2012 type में, Facebook was invested इसको promote करने में, जिस तरह TikTok is now invested. तो वो उस टाइम से आए हुए हैं और वो चल रहे हैं. But had I put in money, had I put in let's say another 100,000 or like a few 100,000, then I would have been at 1 million. Yeah, but then it's one of those things where it's actually better that you've kept yourself at a certain level where if you had those million and then your engagement rate was like 1%, then it'd be like kind of a waste, right? बाबर पाकिस्तान में engagement rates नहीं देखते. पाकिस्तान में लोग सिर्फ वो numbers देखते हैं. So मैं when I'm pitching to clients, I actually compare my page's engagement rate to theirs, because there's so many pages, corporate pages, जिन्होंने यही किया, who have 500,000 likes, जो किसी एजेंसी ने इनको बेच दिए. एजेंसी से बोल करके नंबर्स इन्होंने दिलवा दिए कि ये नंबर्स चाहिए. लिटरली वो KPIs ये देते हैं, ये नंबर चाहिए. वो एजेंसी लाके उनको दे देती है. बट वो उनकी जिंदगी भर के लिए पेज मैट्रिक्स तबाह हो जाते हैं व्हेन दे पोस्ट समथिंग, लिटरली नीचे लिखा आता है 33 people reached. You have 500,000 people and Facebook showed your post to 33 people because Facebook knows कि आपकी classically engagement rate कितनी बुरी रही है.
जी नहीं, आप बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं. I 100% agree this happens. मैंने जब एक my pre-journalism background is in running agencies. I come from the space itself, and I remember being told by clients like Nokia, जब Nokia एक brand होता था, कि यार फलां का million likes है, I want a million likes. And we even thought, and because जिस तरह आप बता रहे हैं कि 2012 में organic growth बहुत अच्छी थी, engagement rate बहुत अच्छा था, we never knew that the algorithm is going to be affected this badly as it is. So in those days, getting the million views was a way of thinking of we'll get the million likes, and usme se 40% will engage, 60% will engage, and all that. So that wasn't a question. Now, because the algorithm has been tweaked, this is very important. Up to your point, ke people don't care. Just that apni agency mein bhi you deal with people. The thing about that is that the two largest media agencies in Pakistan that compose 70% of the media market, they will start pushing their AI, quote unquote AI, but they will start pushing their technology oriented product around figuring out इस बंदे की audience कितनी है, इसकी engagement कितनी है, how many fake followers, real followers and all that. So because they will be pushing that and they'll do a lot of education around that, जो large advertisers are, they will start focusing on what matters and less on what doesn't matter. So gradually होगा, I would say this will take जिस तरह आजकल ये भी बात होती है कि कोविड कब जाएगा, कोविड जैसे जाएगा 2024 में, by the time what I'm talking about takes hold, it'll be the mid of next year. Okay, people will start going like, I've been educated thousands of times by the Z2C agencies, which control PSL, and the Group M agencies, which basically are the Unilever, Pepsi agencies. You need to do targeted and data-driven influencer marketing and all that based on these metrics, not on the follower metric, and therefore it'll be drilled into people's minds, and they'll actually start doing it that way.
Counterpoint is मैं सिर्फ ये दूंगा. I have a counterpoint to this. You know how these agencies work. ये लोग creatives के साथ, so if you go to, let's say, Starcom comes to Shahzad and says, यार हमारे पास ये clients हैं, हम तुम्हें pitch करेंगे, तुम shout out का हमसे कितना लोगे? हम like यार दे दें इतने, they'll be like ठीक है. वो उसका 7x amount डालेंगे, बोलेंगे शहजाद we're booking you for the next 15 shout outs. मेरे amount का 7x company को charge करेंगे, and then the next time they're going to another company, they'll be like शहजाद ही आपके लिए best है, because they know they're gonna earn that 6x amount on me. इतने creatives हैं बेचारे जो इतने उल्लू बने, जिनको ये एजेंसीज ने 10-10 15-15 वीडियोस की शुरू में डील्स कर ली. So they're not going to just look at the data, they're going to start pushing people they have on their payroll already and make it seem like these are the best people for you.
I don't deny that. That being said, there will be a little level of precision for some of the clients. And again, I'm not discounting your experience at all. I'm basing my statements off the direct conversations I'm having with not only the media agencies themselves, but their clients as well. Okay, some of the clients are frustrated. There's a massive client. It's not a secret. I'll just say it. Nestle is a big client of Group M. Group M's Lahore team is called Wavemaker, and Nestle is one of their bigger clients. Nestle's entire media account is worth $20 million. Just may say about 15 to 22.5% is digital. And उनका जो media heads and the people who are in charge of that business, they're quite upset with the lack of transparency in terms of how money is being spent. So they will be going for these automated intelligence solutions quite strongly. Again, I often find overwhelmingly, statistically speaking, that when the media account or the brand account is being led by a digital native, and when I say led, I mean he or she is the final decision maker, not a cog in the system, but the final decision maker. The decisions are more data driven and much more precise than they are with when it's a digital immigrant leading that account whose whole vested interest is around views and impressions and things of that nature. उसको पता ही नहीं ad fraud क्या है, उसको आप जाके बताएं कि what ad fraud is, what click farms is. They're like la 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 la. I can't hear you. Like literally how they think.
I met a head of a channel, head of programming at a channel. I was like, मैं अब ये नौकरी छोड़कर, ठीक है, अब मेरी उम्र हो गई रिटायरमेंट की, मैं नौकरी छोड़ के अपना डिजिटल चैनल लॉन्च करूंगा, ठीक है, इस तरह ये जो चल रहे हैं मैं करूंगा. आई वाज लाइक अच्छा ठीक है ये है. इज लाइक हाँ. और मैंने ना जस्ट टू फिगर आउट कि ये चलता कैसे चीजें होती हैं, मैंने कल फेसबुक भी ज्वाइन कर लिया. दिस इज 2020 और 2019 where this person is saying कि मैं just to figure out कि digital market कैसे होती है, मैंने कल Facebook ज्वाइन कर लिया. and I was like जी अंकल आप बहुत सक्सेस करेंगे. वो चैनल उनका अब तक आया नहीं, I don't know अगर आया है, मेरी नजरों में नहीं आया, but that deal couldn't work out with me. But I was like, wow man, this person wants to open it's like saying मैं restaurant खोलूंगा और कल मैंने जिंदगी में पहली बार खाया है मैंने पहला फूड आइटम अपने मुंह में डाला है रिसर्च करने के लिए कि रेस्टोरेंट कैसे चलता है.
That's exactly what I was gonna say this, because the way they say it, and I've heard variations of this before, कि मैं एक YouTube channel खोलना चाहता हूँ, जिस तरह से they overanalyze everything. मैंने कहा क्या आप कोई दुकान खोल रहे हैं, क्या आप इतना ज्यादा सोच रहे हैं? I'm not saying that don't think about it. Be very careful and very very thoughtful about how you go about it. लेकिन इतना overanalyzing जो होती है ना, analysis paralysis में जो लोग फंस जाते हैं, and then they just don't do anything about it.
Think about everything but content. They think about every single thing except the content itself.
जी 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 बिल्कुल, कि हम कुर्सी क्या होगी, माइक क्या होगा, बैकग्राउंड क्या होगा, एंड लाइक अंकल व्हाट्स गोना बी अबाउट. अच्छा व्हाट्स इट गोना बी अबाउट से मुझे ये याद आया, अगर आप कोई भी ये टूल्स इस्तेमाल करें, अगर इन्फ्लुएंसर वाले टूल जो आप भी इस्तेमाल करते होंगे, what people are not realizing, which they probably should, is if you are someone who wants to be a quote unquote influencer, and I hate this word, don't go after what every third person is going after. मतलब एक चीज बन गई है कि you're female, go after beauty, lifestyle, and all this typical, मतलब stereotypical things. उससे क्या हो रहा है कि because there's an over saturation of women being beauty bloggers and all that, उनकी pricing भी गिर रही है, and the negotiation power of the media agency is greater. They can easily say, okay, we don't want to work with Amna, we'll go to Beanish. There's no differentiation as such. They're like using the looks. अच्छा इसमें और भी elephant in the room क्या होता है? There are agencies that say, okay, we are all about, we support women and all that other stuff, and we are anti-fairness schemes and all that. मैंने कहा ठीक है, that's fine. Why do you take only fair models? Why are all your influences for all your clients only what we call fair? Why aren't they like what we call samaj? Why aren't they dark skinned? Or no, forget that. Why don't you, like जिस तरह होता है ना, Black Lives Matter का जो एक movement हुआ था where people said that we need to hold the entire ecosystem accountable. ठीक है, you're a brand that has gone from fair to glow. Why are you still spending money on TV channels where all the anchors are white? Even if they're not white, they've caked up so much with so much makeup that they look white. Why can't we have a dark female?
थोड़ा टोकनिज्म शुरू हो गया है. एक बॉडी पॉजिटिव ले लेंगे मॉडल, एक कोई या बॉडी इमेज इन्फ्लुएंसर ले लेंगे और वो एक बस टोकन अपना पूरा कर देंगे. वुड दे टर्न अराउंड एंड से कि हम क्या करें, फॉलोअर्स ही इनके हैं. अगर गोरी पतली ट्रेडिशनली जिसको हम खूबसूरत समझते हैं मॉडल है, उसके 100,000 फॉलोअर्स हैं, whether that be a guy or a girl, जो भी, तो they'll be like, अगर हम नंबर्स भी देखें, that's what the numbers tell us.
नहीं, I completely agree. देखिए मैं जब इन लोगों से डील करता हूँ, मैं इनको कहता हूँ कि don't do both. Don't say that you're all about saving the world and you're very woke and all that. At the same time, they're not following through with it. So I tell them that if you want to use slim, what we call white in Pakistan or fair in Pakistan models for your, whatever your ads are, and at the same time you're going around saying that we care about movement A, B, and C, then that's disingenuous. Which is just virtue signaling. Okay, we're just going to say things, but we're not going to actually do anything about that. But then there's, like, for example, Khadi, I think a few weeks ago had used a model that they classified as a plus size model. Like, the click-through rate wasn't great, so they took that creative down from their website. I think it was Khadi. I may be mistaken.
They took the creative down.
Yeah, they stopped using that, and so, but they kept pushing their own messaging around. Okay, look how progressive we are and all that stuff.
While not paying their workers. इतने progressive है Khadi. अपने लोगों को, अपने जो बनाते हैं उनको आप सैलरी नहीं देते. वो इतना बड़ा स्कैंडल हुआ था आपके वर्कर्स के साथ. लेकिन वोक कितने हैं आप खाड़ी? Oh my God, so woke.
Because people in Pakistan, whether they be consumers or they be reporters, even, they don't ask the deeper question. Someone says, I've opened this factory and 1 million people are employed, and then no one asks them, what are you paying them? Is it a livable wage? You've employed them, but if you're paying them 15,000 rupees a month and that money is coming every 2 months, then you've employed them on paper, but you haven't really given them a high quality standard of life. In my point of view, for example, whenever I do hiring, I make sure the minimum salary is 1 lakh. Someone who's graduated with an undergraduate degree, 1 lakh is what they should be paid at least.
Babar, मैं CV भेज रहा हूँ आपको इस show
के. Go ahead. Sure, go ahead. Make sure it's 1 lakh, because I feel like that's the most fair thing you can pay them. When I finished Zabist in 2008, उस वक्त लोग कहते थे 40,000 rupee starting salary. आज तक लोग कह रहे हैं 40,000 rupees starting salary. I'm like, dude, the dollar depreciated like hell. So the rupee depreciated like hell, and still it's 40,000 rupees. Why didn't it go up? And the CEO salaries have been increasing, but the junior salaries have not increased at all, and they're getting away with that. So again, ask deeper questions if you want to
बिल्कुल ही
succeed in
नॉन
this business.
सेक्वेटर, बिल्कुल ही नॉन सेक्वेटर है, लेकिन मैं आपको एक अपनी जिंदगी का वाकया बताऊं जिससे आपको मेरी फाइनेंशियल प्रूडेंस का भी अंदाजा होगा। मेरे पास जो गाड़ी है वो मैंने ली थी 7 लाख की, कोई 12 साल पहले। तो
अच्छा।
अब वो बेचारी, फॉर कंसिडरिंग इट्स अ 12-year-old कार, इट्स डूइंग क्वाइट वेल, बट मैं
जी।
बुढ़ा हो गया हूँ, तो आई एम लाइक यार आई नीड टू गेट एन ऑटोमेटिक कार नाउ, मैनुअल मुझसे अब नहीं चलती, माय लेफ्ट नी इज जस्ट शॉर्ट। आज लाइक लेट्स चेक तो करें। वो मैंने आई थिंक 7 लाख की ली थी 2009 में, वो अब कोई 13-14 लाख रुपए की है। इट्स इट्स डबल्ड। एंड आई वाज लाइक ये तो मेरे मजे आ गए, मैं पागल हूँ, मेरा दिमाग खराब है, मैंने ये गाड़ी रखी हुई क्यों है, ये तो मुझे 2 साल पहले बेच देनी चाहिए थी। एंड आई वाज लाइक ओके लेट मी गेट अ न्यू कार, एंड आई वाज लाइक 3-4 साल पुरानी से 40 लाख रुपए की। आज लाइक हाउ ये व्हाट, इट्स जस्ट अनफैथमेबल, ये प्राइसेस ये कैसे कोई अफोर्ड कर रहा है। सो मैंने बोला चलो लोन ले लेता हूँ। सो इफ आई सेल माई सिटी, इवन अगर वो 15 लाख की बिक जाए और 40 लाख की आप गाड़ी ले रहे हैं, तो आप 25 लाख रुपए का लोन लेंगे over 5 years, that's like 60-70 thousand a month that you'll need to pay
Yeah. Yeah.
just to drive a Civic. How much disposable income do people have अगर वो 60-70 thousand आपने बस एक गाड़ी के उसके देने। सो हाँ प्रॉब्लम मैं मीरा ले रहा हूँ अब ताकि वो चला सकूं मैं। बट यार आई 30,000 लोग करते हैं स्टार्टिंग सैलरीज यार। 40 तो फिर भी तुमने ज्यादा बता दिए, 30,000 35,000 मिड रेंज लोग आए 50,000 60,000 पे काम कर रहे होते हैं बीवी बच्चों के साथ। आई डोंट नो लोग कैसे सरवाइव
What is,
कर
what is, what is 50,000 rupees in dollars? Or is it $400 a month? If I'm not mistaken. I think so, right?
या
150 right
आई
now.
थिंक 150 का है ना डॉलर।
So it was about 400. ठीक है, everyone who's watching right now, I need you all to Patreon the hell out of Shahzad with $1,000 to $1,500 a month.
$258 पेट्रियन से आते हैं,
हाँ.
$80-90 यूट्यूब से आते हैं। सो फॉर द पाकिस्तान एक्सपीरियंस $350 अराउंड आई थिंक मेरे मंथली अभी इससे आ रहे हैं। और मैंने अब एडिटर शेडिटर हायर कर लिए जिनको मैं इससे ज्यादा पैसे देता हूँ उस चीज के। यू मेंशन नेस्ले, last year
जी.
PNG did a huge push as well where they made PNG International, not Pakistan. They said कि हम
जी.
digital spending हमारी कोई 10x कम कर रहे हैं। Did you follow that?
Yeah. Mark Pritchard, उनका जो chief brand officer ने ये किया था, and apparently it had absolutely no change on their commercial. Like they had no impact, no measurable impact according to them on their sales, on their customer क्या कहते हैं, जिसको NPS कहते हैं, Net Promoter Score, and a bunch of other metrics that they have in place around branding and performance. That was hilarious. When it wasn't that hilarious that he cut down the spending when he came out and said, "Okay," and it had no impact, negative impact. That's where we were like, "No, my heart."
तो फिर ये तो सेठिया बंदा was right all along.
Yeah. अब वही बात है ना कि the agency that he was dealing with, wherever they were, possibly were spending money in all the wrong areas. वही चीज views पे probably focus था. Traffic आ रहा है आपका Indonesia, Philippines से. I mean, the barriers to, if you have a Facebook page, the barriers to go to the insights page, it's not like there's 20 steps to go to the insights page that tells you your audiences, क्या आपकी audience कहाँ से आ रही है और मतलब the time of the day where they come and all that. People act like these things are like sacred cows that they cannot go after or they cannot even talk about. But again, जिस तरह आपने बिल्कुल शुरू जब मैंने when I was insisting that AI will be used in influencer marketing, you said that actually people will stick to the status quo and all that, with the 7x and all that. That is some realities of the market are always going to stay the same, where no matter how much we talk about precision and all that, I'm sure some brand manager at some point who's going to feel he or she has to compensate for something that they're lacking themselves. It'll be like, I needed to be a gigantic site with 1 million people coming every single day, even though those 1 million people come for 15 seconds and drop off. So the bounce rate is 99%. Like, you have this thing in your head, have 1 million people coming on my site. So people are still like driven towards like that size of the audience as opposed to the quality of the audience. Motion of the ocean वाली जो बात होती है, people are not focused. People are unfortunately driven that way because I guess they're taught that way. Or maybe the focus around inside the organization is so quant driven that they don't realize that in some areas you have to be qual driven as opposed to being so quant oriented. So again, I don't know.
But again, if your solution is कि ये agencies will come up with better models with better data, agencies ही तो पैसे कमा रही हैं सालों साल इससे. Why would they wanna rob their own chicken house?
The reason they want to rob their own chicken house is right now because of COVID and the sort of uncertainty in terms of things being locked down and all that. Some of the brand and media managers in Pakistan on the MNC side and also the local side have been pushed by their superiors to focus on driving revenue quite a bit. And you can fake branding jab goals hoti hai, right? Branding ki metrics kya hoti hain? Views, impressions, recall, top of mind recall, unaided recall, things of that nature. Now, these to a certain extent can be faked with bots and other things like that. Again, when you have performance-oriented goals around sales and all that, these cannot be faked. To a certain extent, they can be faked, but not really. Like the fraud rate on performance goals, where the goal is to actually drive a sale, is like in the single digits. But on the branding side, it can be in the double digits. So when you're focusing on sales and all that, the audience selection has to be much more precise. And the agencies are being told nowadays, okay, if you want to win this account, you need to drive home a result at the end of the year. And if you hit 100% of the result, aapko crore milega. If you hit 200% of the result, 2 crore, and so on and so forth. So because of that, they have to reverse engineer and figure out what are the right audiences. So they're getting to that point. Again, I speak to, of the 5 big agencies in Pakistan, I speak to at least 3 of them on a daily basis, the CEOs and all that. And wo yahi batate hain, like, and the thing is, they're talking to me off the record. So it's not like they're talking to me and hoping that I name drop them. They're just letting me know that because of various types of possibly the advertising reporting, but also just the industry in general, because the external pressures of COVID and other things, people have to drive sales, then they have to drive home. Okay, and we had 100 people walk into our store today. Then someone's like, how many of them walked out with shopping bags? People are starting to ask the second question, which not a lot of people did before.
Which is why जो बड़ी कंपनीज होती हैं, आप ब्रांडिंग में बेहतर सैलरीज देते हैं और सेल्स डिपार्टमेंट गालियां देता रहता है कि सारे काम तो हम करते हैं. I think now you're realizing the value of the sales department. कि actually going to Nahid, putting your दूध का डब्बा सामने has value.
Both have value. You have to do both hand in hand. Just properly or successful organizations out there, they understand the value of both. Branding's job is to make sure that you're aware. Think of it this way: if you're a salesperson and you go to someone, and you're, let's say, okay, there's a difference. If I open an agency today and I have awareness in the market and all that, and I sit in front of a new client from day one from scratch, or someone from the industry who knows of me, let's say, when I open the pitch deck, I have to explain, first of all, who I am. Then I have to explain the typical Pakistan mein kya hota hai. I have to spend time explaining who I am as a person, why you should hire me as a person, because based on my experiences. And then I have to talk about my agency for a bit, then my clients, and then my work. But if you've done branding properly on a B2B, on a B2C level, then you don't have to do the first 3 things. You can be Ogilvy. People know what Ogilvy is. If I say Ogilvy to a random person within the media and advertising space, say, what is Ogilvy? Is a media agency or creative agency? I would say 60% of those people will say creative agency. You get top of mind recall it strong. They've done their branding, they've done their advertising, they pushed out thought leadership and all that. People know who David Ogilvy is. So they don't have to waste their time explaining who we are, why we exist, and all those other things. People already know. They just have to go in and say, this is your problem statement, this is the solution we came out against, as opposed to proving themselves. So if you value your time as
over years, huh? But they have proved, they've done that work over the years.
They've proven themselves time again.
एक नई एजेंसी तो ब्रांड सिर्फ अपने आप को ब्रांड करके तो उसको कुछ काम नहीं मिल सकता, सिर्फ कूल ब्रांडिंग भी कर ले.
No, dude, that's the funny thing about agencies in Pakistan, where they're making recommendations that they don't take themselves. So every agency you go to an agency today and you tell them that I own a consulting firm, a professional services firm, and we want to do marketing. Should we do marketing or not? I have $1 million to spend. Should we do marketing or not? They'll be like, sir, every business in the world needs to do marketing. And you ask them that, how do you market yourself? They're like, they don't. So why don't they? And then they worry about, then these same agencies that don't do their own marketing and their own branding, they complain about how many clients nahi aa rahe, qualified leads nahi aa rahe, and people are not taking it seriously. People think of it as a commodity. Okay, acha, ye aap keh rahe hain 2.5 lakh, nahi ye cheez aap 50 mein kar le. And then the person's like, haan sir, theek. Why? Because you have not built your service around a value providing service. You've only built it around a commodity. Every third person can do community management. If you do community management right, the way it's supposed to be done, it can be very, very sophisticated, and it can be something that you charge $1 million a month for. There's an agency here in Karachi, where you are in Karachi. They're called Penumbra. They charge like $1 million a month for community management, because they do the whole community management. Puri stakeholder mapping karte, not just your customers, but your investors and your suppliers and all that. Obviously, $1 million a month makes perfect sense in that point. and it's like 4 employees in that company. Can you imagine the amount of money they make and divided by the amount of employees that they have is extreme, because the way they approach everything is much more macro than the agencies in Pakistan. So when a New York Pizza, for example, talks to them, and they say to them that, oh, you do community management in this way, we will help you get in touch with investors, we will help you raise your Series A, we'll also get in touch with legislators, that the entire government knows about you, we can get Imran Khan to name drop you. But this is a higher level of working that not many companies in Pakistan do, and they put themselves in that corner on their own. Lack of investment. Okay, yaar, maine to MBA kar liya, I'm done. I don't have to educate myself anymore. I do a CPD every single year just to stay slightly updated. And that's something that a lot of digital natives do quite a bit as well. So yeah, it's a self-created in the
I
market.
agree. If there's one thing I've learned is कि race to the bottom आप कभी नहीं जीत सकते. अगर client आपको वापस में कहता है, वो लोग तो इतने में be like ठीक है, ये है, and be honest with your proposals. Like मेरी initial struggle ये हो रही थी कि मैं I'd fallen into the industry trap कि सबको पता है आपने जो कोट किया है उसके आधे से भी कम में आप मान लेंगे.
जी.
And वही when I was making proposals and stuff, I was like, अच्छा इसको 1.5x पे करो ताकि negotiating हो. Now I'm like, यार ये proposal है, इस तरह किया है, ये fair उसमें वो है, चाहिए नहीं चाहिए, thank you, goodbye.
Exactly.
You don't have the time. Sunday बाजार पे मैं जूते तो नहीं बेच रहा ना यार आपसे.
जी, बिल्कुल. There's some conversations people have already done in their minds. I'll give you an example. When a media agency reaches out to me, for example, and says, "K, I'm giving an example. This says Comax, all right? They say, "K, you wrote an article about our client Comax, and we don't like it. You had to delete it and all that stuff." Okay? These media agencies that make these phone calls, they're very used to getting a 99% success rate, 99.9 success rate in issuing these threats, right? So when someone turns around and says no, something breaks in their heads and they're like, "Ab kya kare?" Because we never rehearsed what would happen if the guys ever said no. In the same vein, I have done this with an agency I ran, and it was pretty successful. It was a very successful model where we had, and anyone feel free to copy this, we had this system where we said, we would get people to, someone came in as a client, we would tell them that, do you want to work with team Alpha, team Beta, team Charlie, or team Delta? And the difference between the teams was experience. Team Alpha had like 10 years of experience between them in terms of the teams, the people who were within that team. Beta was like 8 years and then 5 years and all that. Delta was the team where like fresh graduates came in. So we're like, this is how we separate our teams, and the pricing is according to that. And then the package is also according to that. So we would make people meet the, again, tooting your horn more than anyone else, but like, we would make people meet the NCA, the LUMs, and the fast graduates who were in Team Alpha. And obviously, they were very well polished, the way they spoke and everything. You could tell that they were the most, like, they could easily become prime minister tomorrow if they wanted to, the way they dress and the way they spoke and everything. Unse hi milwate the client ko. And client kehta tha, wow, this person's not only pretty, but they were well spoken and all those other things. And be like, yeah, these people are 5 million rupees a month. And the client's like, oh, acha. Then we make them meet Delta, which is like juniors who are like very like ambitious and shit, but don't know jack. Like very like, you know, very aspirational, head in the clouds and all that. And then the client's like, how much is this team? Like $1 million. And they're like, okay, we want that team. Because now we're telling them that you cannot get that team no matter what. And we're also saying no to them. And if they're very used to just bata rahe hain ke aadha kar lenge, and then we can walk away with it. Client would say, acha, 5 million. What will it take for us to do the 25 lakh deal? When I get 25 lakh deal, you get Team Charlie. So they're like, oh, we cannot get Alpha.
Alpha has I was like, ये मैं हूँ, ये मेरे पैसे हैं, और ये मेरी पार्टी हो रही है. हाँ या नहीं? Because आपको Delta Charlie बाहर मिल जाएंगे. I'm hoping after they meet me and they meet others, they're like, okay, we see the difference rather than me having to show them बच्चे के ये देखो. So, but वही है कि I think I can do that also because I've branded myself over the years, right? So if somebody's calling me, it's not like they're calling for agency work. It's not like they're calling for marketing work. They're like, oh, Shahzad Ghyas, हमें चाहिए. Even whether that be stand-up, whether that be a podcast, whether that be anything, it's I'm not fighting with other people in this field. कि अगर किसी को कुछ करना है तो वो specific करना है.
Like I think I mentioned this to you. Your content is so, again, for me, I'm quite stupid, but for me, your content is so sophisticated. It's so intellectual. For me, what I feel like if you get like an independent research firm to figure out who your audience is, I would say it's like lawmakers, policymakers, legislators, people in government, people who influence
अगर हम 6-6 घंटे की बकचोदियां करते हैं जिसमें हम लोग गाय से दूध निकालने की बातें कर रहे होते हैं, कौन
yeah,
पॉलिसी
but like
मेकर वो
if you
सुनता है?
look at your top content, right, your top popular uploads, the kind of stuff that being discussed in that, and then the view through rate and all those other things, it some people are sticking to it, right? People are watching it consistently. 30 minutes go by and someone's not getting bored. I watch one thing of yours with like a lawyer in it. I'm like aside from like Gibran
यार
Nasser, I'll be like, I don't know
देखो,
this guy. I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna like sometimes it'll be on and I'll be like, I'm
how
keeping this on, and my wife's like, you're not even watching. I'm like, no, I want to support Shazad. I'm gonna leave it
the
on. I'm not really watching it because it goes over my head.
the only metric I'm really proud of is, मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा मुझे कहाँ से नजर आएगा, but the average view duration metric, that's the one that I'm very proud of, like 16 minutes average view duration.
Nice.
कौन मतलब in this world where everybody's like snack video, I'm master of
Yeah.
snack, 10-15 सेकंड के बाद you're like ये वीडियो खत्म कब होगी? लोग अगर 2-2 3-3 घंटे, and literally when I tell people कि हमने 5 घंटे की पॉडकास्ट की हुई है, people are like तुम्हारा दिमाग खराब हो गया. And
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
podcasts have some of the best metrics. कुछ
Yeah.
लोगों ने 6-6 घंटे बैठ के वो सुनी है और देखी है. So yeah, I think content is king
You
यार.
should
अगर आप अच्छा
definitely.
content बना रहे हैं, time these things don't matter.
You should definitely cross promote on these platforms. I know they don't look great, but like if you can, like you choose one of them. Obviously, not all
Snack
three.
video.
TikTok, cross promote. A छोटा सा clip जो होता है, the best part of your show. Even like when you were speaking to, again, I keep bringing up the same point because I like that episode quite a bit. But the Ali Gurpir episode, just you guys were even joking about what the clip should be, in terms of like his divorce or whatever else you want to talk about. How do you deal with FIA case letters and all that? Uh, you can put those clips on like a
Yeah.
TikTok and
So
add the link and hyperlink it and all that. I'm sure
we've
it'll work out.
so I've hired people to just do that exactly. So जो Patreon के वो directly वहां जाते हैं. I've hired an agency कि clip out
जी
करो और इनको post
जी
करो, इनके thumbnails
जी
बनाओ. If people have noticed, हमारे
हाँ
thumbnails जरा बहुत बेहतर हो गए हैं recently.
हाँ
So all
हाँ हाँ
that little like selling ourselves वाला काम, not selling
जी
out, just selling ourselves,
जी
वो अब शुरू
जी
हो
जी
गया
जी
है. So I
बिल्कुल
think people will see a lot more of that. It's
हम्म,
just time यार. It's
हाँ.
quite taxing.
So like if your Patreon got to like, I'm giving an example, but if your Patreon got to like $5,000 a month,
हाँ.
and keeping in mind what you take home and keeping in mind what you pay your employees, how frequent would your episodes come then? I think it's like weekly now.
I think we were doing 2 a week for the
Okay.
last little bit. फिर मेरी तो
Yeah.
तबीयत खराब हो गई, फिर रमजान में भी लेजी हो गए, so it's gone back to weekly. But
हाँ.
I would say कि महीने में 6-7 तो आ जाती हैं roughly.
अच्छा.
हाँ.
So like if it comes up to $5,000 a month, how many episodes do you think you do in a month?
I don't think we
Keeping
should
in mind,
do. I don't think we should do
keeping in
more
mind
than 2 a week.
2 a week. All right, cool.
I don't think we should
I
do
would
more than that because हैं भी तो लंबी ना.
हाँ लंबी.
What I would do is I
Yeah.
would do a lot more of little content. Like वो चीजें
Yeah.
होती हैं, वो छोटी छोटी मोटी होती हैं, वो निकल जाती हैं. So you know that clips,
हाँ.
I do a lot
Yeah.
more of those where you're responding immediately to things, just posting those
Yeah.
rather than being an entire podcast. I do a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Get a studio, get lighting, things like that. वो
Yeah.
investment करना जरूरी है ज़्यादा.
Yeah. I like your episodes of Mohammed Moise.
हाँ.
Those are fun. He's a
So
great guy.
we also want to talk about internal brain drain. I think ये आखिरी हम करते हैं ये चीज discuss. ये क्या है internal brain drain, क्या होता है बाबर?
यार जो something that you've experienced, everyone in the entire country's experienced this. हम brain drain क्या होता है कि हम कहते हैं कि हमारा अच्छा talent बाहर जा रहा है. Internal brain drain is that talent that for whatever reason, good or bad, cannot leave the country. But because the environment that they're working in, their parents, their bosses, their colleagues or whatever, you're demotivating the hell out of them in one way or the other. I'll give one example. Someone comes to you with great ideas and you keep shooting them down. एक point आएगा, he'll never come to you with ideas, not even think beyond anything. And then you will meet that person sometime later in his life, and you'll be like, hey, yaar, boomer uncle जो है ना idea नहीं लेकर आता, but you don't know what he has gone through in his life where he's been shot down so many times that he doesn't have the mental capacity to think that way. वो बंदा trigger हो गया है कि अगर मैं कोई अच्छी idea सोचूंगा भी, then I'll be shot down, I'll be demeaned and all that. So ये भी brain drain होता है. We don't talk about. Okay, there's people in the country going around telling other people that your ideas are shit, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're ugly, you're this and that. So when you're draining the existing population, तो क्या productive आप निकालेंगे लोगों से if they're already destroyed from the inside? जिसको आप depression भी कह सकते हैं, आप mental health issues. Again, I'm no one to diagnose anyone, but this is what I classify it as. If brain drain means that good talent is leaving the country, and if people are left behind and you're still finding unproductivity, it's because someone is telling them that they're not good enough, or someone is telling them that their ideas are not smart enough. So you're having that internal brain drain as well. The people left behind are losing their minds slowly, and that is now turning into something violent, or it's turning into something even more negative. And then the cycle perpetuates. And something needs to be done about this. This happens at universities as well. It's like a well-known fact. If you're a computer science student at Zavist, as an example, you're doing a final year project, and the final year project involves creating deep fakes that will allow you to, you know how you watch, there's this Netflix big show, it's called Dark, if I'm not mistaken. It's a German show, but when you're watching it, they're speaking in German, but then the subtitles are coming at the bottom. What if you could deep fake just the mouth so that the mouth movement is all in English? So it doesn't look off, right? Now, a Zaba student comes up with that, and the university says that because you signed this thing when you joined our university, this thing you created is our property. We own this IP. But that stupid university will never monetize it or license that particular piece of technology ever, and they never have. And as a result of that, then you sit back and complain that Pakistan mein koi IP nahi hoti, koi innovation nahi hota, because the universities are stealing all the credit and the employees are taking all the credit. There's IT companies in Pakistan that make people sign something that says that anything you create in this company, we will take 100% credit of it. You can never claim it's yours.
All
Then where the hell?
All
companies do this. But as an example, people in this country, IT companies in this country, and other companies, they say we are the Google of Pakistan. Yeah, we aspire to be the Google of Pakistan. We aspire to be the Google of the world. But Google as a company has a website called patents.google.com. Aap us pe jaएं. Every patent of Google is listed there, and the names of the scientists or the research that they credited. At least वो credit करते हैं. पाकिस्तान में तो credit ही नहीं दे रहे. So someone is like, yeah, I don't want to be paid separately for the thing I've created, but at least say, Ahmed Janzeb is the one who created this, and people are like, the employees are like, no, we will take all the credit, but then we'll also go around complaining that Pakistan mein koi IP koi banata nahi, we have no innovation and all that. So they're literally creating the problem that they're complaining about. And that also, again, contributes internal brain drain. Well, it's a semi-separate issue, but there's various things that are happening inside the country that's making it worse in that particular way. And not everyone's talking about it. So I don't know what the solution is. The solution is actually to go to all these people and criminalize it if you can. Criminalize being an asshole, but it's impossible.
ये नौकरी कितनी मजबूरी है ना पाकिस्तान में. So दो aspects, like for instance even with content creators, यार आप करते क्या हैं उनके साथ? अगर जिस तरह for instance वो है Potty Girl, जी, what do you think she's going through right now? Yeah, she got fame and everything, which is great, but लोगों ने इतनी गालियां दी just because she got famous. That's it. That's the only reason people hated on her. उसने कुछ किया नहीं, उसने कुछ problematic नहीं किया, उसने कुछ नहीं बोला, बस ज्यादा famous हो गई तो लोगों को नफरत होनी शुरू हो गई. आप सारे दिन गालियां देते हैं, आप सारे दिन बुरा भला कहते हैं, फिर भी वो आपके लिए कंटेंट बनाते हैं. अली सेठी पे बेचारा बेटा क्वारंटीन में रोज इंस्टाग्राम लाइव पे गाने गाता था, उसको गालियां दे रहे हैं आप जाकर. Why would a person want to do that, right? Why would a person want to put themselves out there, show their art, कि आप बस लीली करे जा रहे हैं किसी को. So yeah, you're not creating the environment for it's not a conducive environment for art and creativity to flourish. और आप पैटर्न्स की बात कर रहे हैं, लोग काम का क्रेडिट ले जाते हैं यार. आप सारा काम करते हैं, आपका बॉस, आपका मैनेजर उसका क्रेडिट ले लेता है, मैनेजर जाके उसका क्रेडिट ले लेता है, एंड आप फंसे हुए उस नौकरी में. बिकॉज इट्स नॉट लाइक के हम एंटरप्रेन्योर्स के लिए हमने कोई चीजें आसान की हुई हैं, चीजें और मुश्किल की हुई हैं. तो यही कंपनीज के जो हेड्स हैं वो चाहते नहीं है कि एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप हो. फिर कोई सोशल स्ट्रक्चर नहीं है कि वर्स्ट केस सिनारियो आप यूएस में अगर आप कंपनी शुरू करते हैं, आप डेट में भी चले गए, स्टेट आपको पैसे दे देगा, फूड स्टैम्प्स पे आप चले जाएंगे, भूखे तो नहीं मरेंगे ना, कुछ ना कुछ तो हो ही जाएगा, होमलेस शेल्टर्स मिल जाएंगे. वर्स्ट, एब्सोल्यूट वर्स्ट केस. यहाँ पे तो आप मर जाएंगे. अगर आपको गोली लगी, अस्पताल आपका इलाज नहीं करेगा. So when you have those considerations कि आपके बच्चे हैं उनको स्कूल जाना है, why would you take risks at your job? You're like नौकरी चलती रहे बस, ना रिस्क लो, ना किसी को तंग करो, पैसे कमाओ, काम नहीं करो, नौकरी करो.
हाँ, देखिए क्योंकि मैंने भी बाहर काम किया है, and I never ever, not once, I mean of all places, even in the UAE, not once, again I don't know if the privilege and all that, not once did someone turn around and say that's a bad idea or let's not do that. कहते let's try it within this limited resources that pool we're going to allot to you, and if it works, great. If it doesn't work, you learn something. we all as a collective unit learn something. यहाँ पे कोई experimentation ही नहीं है. And so when I speak to people, they're like, hey, I would rather like kill myself. Like people say, I'd rather kill myself than speak up about this issue called ad fraud or this issue called lack of media transparency and all that, because I'll get shot down and I'll be scapegoated and I'll become the enemy of the entire company just for bringing it up, because people don't know the difference between a disagreement and an argument in this country. Like you guys, you on your show, you disagree in a very civil manner with people, and I'm sure there's people watching. They're like, "Hey, इससे बहस क्यों कर रहा है?" And they're like, "बहस थोड़ी कर रहा है. He just."
It's reverse actually, but people are like, you only bring people you agree with because they don't see us shouting at each other. वो realize नहीं करते कि कितने disagreements है, कितने spectrum से लोग आ चुके हैं. Because हम तमीज से बात कर लेते हैं. Even जुनैद फजल came और हम वो औरत मार्च और इस्लामिक डिबेट कर रहे थे. People like नहीं, ये सही इस्लामिक नहीं है. क्यों? क्योंकि ये लड़े नहीं आपस में. So वो तमीज की disagreement, I mean even left में हजारों disagreements हैं. So many people have come that I've vehemently disagree with. But क्योंकि हम एक दूसरे को चीजें नहीं मार रहे होते, people are like मजा नहीं आया सर.
Yeah, like your soul-burning interview was very well done. If I had to do that, I would not be able to, because the things you had to say to the guy in the same room across the room, I'd be like, I don't have the balls to do that. And plus the topic, the way they handled it was really bad, and you were still being nice to them about it. I was just like, I can't.
After that as well, I had a great time talking to them.
Actually, you did. I mean, again, this is a skill, right? That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to humbly compliment you indirectly, but this is a genuine skill where you can you can speak to people who you disagree with or you don't necessarily see eye to eye with, but be civil about it and get your point across. Just in throwing things and also just shouting in general. People are like, if I scream it loud enough, then I win the argument. And you're not doing that. That being said, you ought to consider like a deviation within the masses type market, right? Because if people value views this much, then if there's something that you create that is much more palatable to the masses without being douchey about it, then I think that's something you should definitely consider. Because right now your audience is very niche, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like we've gotten, we try and get everybody. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know what we can do. है niche, मैं ये disagree बिल्कुल नहीं कर रहा कि niche है, but उसको niche ना करें, ये मुझे नहीं समझ आ रहा. I think clips will help. The clips channel will help. अगर आपने नहीं किया Pakistan Experience Clips, जाके उसको subscribe करें. Inshallah, I'll start posting daily over there as well. वो फिर palatable ज़्यादा हो जाएंगे, वो फिर ज़्यादा लोग देखेंगे. And I don't think इतनी कोई complicated बातें करते हैं. I like to play the village idiot, where I'm constantly thinking audience क्या सोच रही होगी, so I ask dumb questions ताकि वो clarify हो जाए. I think Arafat Mazhar is probably the most technical one we've done. वो blasphemy law पे थी, वो बहुत technical हो गई थी. But most episodes, I do think people hopefully understand कि हम पता क्या कर रहे हैं.
Well, your audience is like people who went to KGS, Lyceum, Lums, IU. So it's like, for them, it's like, oh, this is just basic stuff. But for me, who went to Zaps, I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, what have you not understood?
I'll send you those videos, and I don't want to tell your watching audience how stupid I am. I'll send you those videos and be like, these are the ones that really went over my head.
Maybe I should also do clips where I break down things.
No, the thing is, I watch everything. I watch as many. I try to watch as many independent creators as possible, like the Kya Kahega Ghazi and Muzammal Hassan and all. Even if I don't understand, so I'll listen to it. I'm just saying that nothing is going in. Like some things are not going through. I'll listen to the whole thing and be like, I want to support this person, hit the 15-minute mark. Like they get that, YouTube says that, okay, Babar watched his show and that counts as a view and all that. I like to support people, like, and I don't necessarily understand everything that you and Qazi and Muzammal Hassan, so a lot of the stuff goes over my head about law and policy and all that. Like, don't know what's going on.
But जिसको जो चीजें नहीं समझ में आती, please message करें. हम clips पे I'm gonna try and do simpler breakdowns as well. Lots more content coming. Summary ये है कि बहुत ज़्यादा content बनाना है, बहुत ज़्यादा ideas हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा चीजें हैं. इंशाल्लाह होती रहेंगी. आप लोग support करें, प्यार करें, Patreon करें, तो फिर ये चीजें और ज़्यादा होती रहेंगी. And in terms of accessibility बहुत मसला है यार. जिस तरह I've tried getting people from Gilgit-Baltistan, from Balochistan, internet, Zoom, वो 1000 मसले मसाइल हो जाते हैं. अगर एक studio space हो जहाँ people can come in, और ज़्यादा स्ट्रैटा रिप्रेजेंट हो सकते हैं. अभी एक सर्टन स्ट्रैटा नहीं रिप्रेजेंट हो रहा बिकॉज वो जूम एक्सेस और इंटरनेट एक्सेस जेन्युइन मसला है. सो यस वी वर डेफिनेटली ट्राइंग स्पेशली अक्रॉस द आयल. मैंने बहुत मौलवियों को बुलाया है, वो नहीं आते, वो मना कर देते हैं आने से. पीटीआई के सारे लोगों ने मना कर दिया आने से, सारे तो नहीं मतलब जिनको भी मैंने बुलाया. जिन्होंने हाँ भी बोला था उन्होंने बाद में मना कर दिया. सो मे बी कहीं से आया होगा कि नहीं. सो गॉड नोज व्हाट्स हैपनिंग, बट फरहान विर्क्स कम ऑन. सो
I'll refer some female executives. This is something that I try to do with my work quite a bit, where the majority of the business journalism circle tries to quote whenever there's a story, like let's say the story about Amazon coming to Pakistan, then they reach out to people and they say, what do you think? They'll primarily reach out to men, and not that much to women. Just a two-pronged problem. It's the fact that, first of all, they don't have a female network. Then that's may or may not be their fault because of, let's say, when they went to all-boys school or whatever that situation may be. But also, what I often do is, if I reach out to a female executive for a point of view, I will give them 5 days to come back with a statement. Whereas I will give a guy the same amount story, 3 days max. And the reason I give the women 2 extra days is because when they go home, they're basically still working 24 hours a day. They still have to be doing other things inside the house, or their moms, or their wives and all that. So their work doesn't really stop. They don't have that much free time in the day. But also, what I often find is that because of the way they've been raised, it's an internal brain drain issue once again. But also, the way they've been raised, I don't think they've ever been told that your opinion matters or your opinion is of value. And so when I reach out to them and I say, "Okay, can you give me your perspective on so and so issue?" They're like, "I don't know what to say," and I don't ever get this response from guys. And I've just sort of like walked them through the entire conversation as if I'm their publicist and be like, "Hey, so, some people say this and some people say that. What do you think?" And then they say whatever they say, and it's actually really good stuff. And then we make it a statement, and then it goes into our articles. So, some of the people who've been quoted in my stories, if I do a story that has 10 people quoted, 6 are women. I make that's my rule. And so some of those 6 who have been quoted over and over again have now started writing their own articles, have started going on TV and doing all these things. The confidence aa gayi hai, but there was a very painstaking effort to make that happen. But we need to do something in our country to highlight female white collar executives more and more, ताकि और लोगों को पता चले कि these women exist and they have something unique to say, and you should definitely listen to them. That diversity of a point of view is very, very important. So, I mean, if as often as you can, I really encourage you to do so.
Even अभी on the Palestine-Israel issue, I think लोगों ने realize किया है कि जब आप फिलिस्तीनियों को सुनते हैं तो वो कितना important है. Western ऑडियंस में हमें ये आसान हो जाता है ना समझना कि आप सिर्फ एक पर्सपेक्टिव ले रहे हैं. you're hearing about what's happening in Gaza through Israel's eyes. फलस्तीनियों से तो पूछें कि क्या चल रहा है, लेकिन हमारे लोकल उसमें हम ये चीज कभी नहीं सोचते. सो कोई भी इशू है, आपकी कोई भी पोजीशन है, आपको पीटीएम पसंद है, आपको पीटीएम से नफरत है, स्टेट जो कह रहा है कि ये पीटीएम है, स्टेट जो कह रहा है ये अली वजीर है, स्टेट जो कह रहा है ये बलोची लीडर्स हैं, स्टेट जो कह रहा है ये मुहाजिर लीडर्स हैं, सिंधी हैं, पंजाबी हैं, जो भी हैं, उसको छोड़कर उनकी भी सुन लें, दोनों चीजें सुन लें. डोंट लेट वन साइड पेंट व्हाट द अदर साइड इज. तो जो खुद हैं, जिनकी लिव्ड आइडेंटिटी है, जिनका लिव्ड एक्सपीरियंस है, उनकी सुन लें. कम से कम इतना इम्प्लोर कर रहा हूँ मैं. अग्री करें डिसएग्री करें ये आप पर है, उनकी सुन लें, उनसे उनकी कहानियां सुने. एंड आई एम ग्लैड दैट दिस पॉडकास्ट हैज सॉर्ट ऑफ बिकम अ डेटाबेस फॉर इटर्निटी, के डिफरेंट लोगों के पर्सपेक्टिव्स एग्जिस्ट करते हैं. जो पसंद है, जो नहीं पसंद, मर्जी आपकी है. सुन लें, सोच लें, नहीं समझ में आए तो बाबर को बताएं ताकि वो मुझे बताएं और हम फिर उन चीज़ों को ब्रेक डाउन कर सकें. एंड फॉर पीपल हु आर इंटरेस्टेड, बाबर खान जावेद ऑन प्रॉफिट, अगर आपको प्रॉफिट कमाना है तो इनसे सीखें किस तरह, या वकार ज़का से सीखें. एंड व्हाट वाज योर सबस्ट्रैटा, व्हाट वाज द
Substack is my first name, so babar.substack.com. But that's a paid situation, so it's better just follow me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is better. Following me on LinkedIn is actually much better. Kitna is I'll tell you offline.
Is it a lot? But wouldn't I be able to just find out if I go on the website?
No. It's cloaked. It's quite cloaked. So people have to directly reach out and say, "I'd like to subscribe," and then वहाँ से we move forward.
कोई पता करवाए, जरा ईमेल करे, पता करवाए कितना है, फिर फिगर आउट करते हैं. थैंक यू बाबर फॉर दिस कॉन्वर्सेशन. एंड जो थोड़ी बहुत उम्मीद थी एडवर्टाइजिंग रेवेन्यू आने की, वो भी आपने बुझा दी है. थैंक यू सो मच. I'm kidding.
I'll definitely support the Patreon.
No, thank you everybody, and thank you everybody listening. Take care. Bye bye.